I invite you to join the conversation this morning via our WhatsApp line 0549 986 996 0549 986 996. This week has seen quite a number of activities. It began over the weekend, really, with the invasion of a private TV station called United Television, UTV. It was during a live entertainment program when some hoodlums who are affiliated to the MPP stormed the station to demand representation on the program. The program, an entertainment one, according to the hoodlums, began turning political, and they had written to the station demanding that they are represented on the program. But does a private company or a private television station owe it an obligation to any political party to have representation of that party on their panel? What right did they have to storm the station in that manner, to demand representation and even ask for a particular panelist? What did they want to do with that panelist? What would have happened if that panelist was around? What happened to security? What happened really to the party that most people have thought was one which dealt with matters using the pen? What happened to the host and other panelists on the program? We understand they were traumatized and they have been given some attention. The station has vowed to go the full length of this to ensure that justice is served. A number of apologies came in from the Ministry of Information, condemning it and apologizing to the station and panelists and all those who were affected. The party itself, first of all, sent their Director of Communications to apologize and then to assure that they will deal with the matter. The General Secretary of the party, the Chairman of the party, and other top officials of the party have also taken turns to visit the station and offer their apology. But is that enough? What happened to the real people who did the thing? Have they apologized? What is happening to the criminal justice system? You understand they've been granted bail by the police. Is that the case? And when are we seeing them really arraigned before court? This is what is engaging our attention this morning. Just yesterday, at the NDC's vetting of the Odododio constituency primaries, which took place at the party's regional office around Southla, one of our reporters, Akosombo Dam, was attacked by some of the rampaging youth who had come to support one of the candidates. In their case, they claim that one of the candidates or aspirants didn't have to qualify, and by virtue of the fact that he had gone through the vetting and done the balloting, it meant that he had qualified or passed the vetting. They say that this gentleman was a member of the MPP and even ran on the ticket of the MPP before, and so should not have qualified to run on the ticket of the NDC or to run or to appear on the NDC ballot paper to be subsequently elected as a candidate for the NDC in the area. So in the melee, a number of people were hurt. Our reporter was conducting an interview. They tried to snatch her phone, struggled with her, and whilst in that struggle, somebody came from behind, hit her hand with an object. Her hand got swollen, and we had to rush her to the hospital. And as we speak, she's still recuperating. This is terrible. This should not be happening in the 21st century, Fourth Republican Ghana. Is the media under siege? What is the matter? This is one of the main issues we are discussing this morning. Also, on the second part of the program, we'll look at, it's been a week which has been heavily laden with matters of corruption, fight for or against corruption, the government's battle against corruption. We have an OSP who appeared discontented. He went to court to confirm the freezing of the assets of Cecilia Dapa. If you recall, Cecilia Dapa, got in the news after her house help stole or allegedly stole some huge sums of money from her home. The matter traveled to court, and eventually it assumed gained huge public attention. Why a minister of state should have such huge amounts of money in there? The special prosecutor stepped in and also went to conduct a search in the house and found also some huge amounts of money, seized her accounts and froze her accounts and seized those amounts. Went to court to get those seizures and freezes confirmed, but the court in the first instance said he hadn't made enough case against the matter, and so failed to confirm it and therefore unfroze the account. special prosecutor, in handing over the cash to the lady in question, rearrested her, and they are back in court. The lady and her lawyers went to court this week to seek an abridgment of time because they say that the return date on the original application is too far away, and that is working hardship and causing injury to the lady in question. So the court abridged the time. So just when the application for the confirmation of the seizure was to be heard on the abridged date, Office of the Special Prosecutor's lawyers did not turn up. Why? Because they said they had petitioned the CJ that they were uncomfortable with the judge in question because the judge appears prejudiced against the person of the Special Prosecutor and even the Office of the Special Prosecutor. So they do not feel that they would get justice if the same judge continues to sit on the case. For that reason, the application could not be heard on that day. The matter had to be adjourned. So we are waiting for what the Chief Justice will say, whether the Chief Justice will change the judge or will say that indeed no case of bias or prejudice has been made against the judge. So the judge should continue. The Chief Justice could say any of them. So we are awaiting her response in respect of that. Also this week, we saw Ato Essien, the former managing director of the defunct Capital Bank, jailed for 15 years. It's initially, the ruling or the judgment should have come sometime last year, but he entered into an arrangement with the state, relying on Section 35 of the Courts Act and even the Plea Bargaining Act, which meant that he could pay the money and walk free, even though he had pleaded guilty to the charges. Two other people who were involved in the matter were acquitted and discharged. But in this case, the gentleman, Ato Essien, was supposed to have paid to the state 90 million cedis. He paid 30 million and was supposed to have paid the 60 million in 3 different tranches, 20 million by April, and then another 20 million by August, and then another 20 million by December, I think. But he failed on the 2 occasions. In the April deadline, he couldn't pay, and then on the August deadline too, he couldn't pay. He could only pay 7 million out of the 40 million, which means that in all, he's paid 37 million cedis to the state. Per the law, the state could go back to court with an application to ask for custodial sentence or a sentencing because he's been convicted already. He pleaded guilty in the end, so he's been convicted already. It's a sentencing that was suspended. So with this new development, the state went back to court seeking to get the court to pronounce sentence on him. It happened a few times. The court exercised some magnanimity, but eventually the court's patience ran out because the gentleman was not able to pay the money. He said he had some properties he wanted to liquidate, but it was proving difficult. Eventually, he was sentenced to 15 years in jail with hard labor. That is, many have said, a step in the right direction towards the corruption fight. Others who have raised other issues and what happens to others who are also involved in it. We will discuss all of that today. Also, this week, the Attorney General's report on the Professor Frimpong Boateng matter came out. The Attorney General said that Frimpong Boateng did not present any evidence that could ground any serious work. And so because of that, nothing happens. That is the state of affairs this morning. And if we have time, we will look at also what has been happening in certain parts of the Volta region in respect of the spillage of the Akosombo Dam. Many people, thousands of people have been displaced, and you should see the videos and the pictures. NADMO and relief agencies have been called to work. Whether they are delivering or not is another matter. Whether they are equipped enough to undertake such a huge job is a matter up for discussion. In the meantime, as was announced yesterday, the government has set up an interministerial committee chaired by the Chief of Staff to look into this matter, made up of more than 12 key ministries to look into the matter and see what can be done about the disaster. This is the big issue, your platform for incisive analysis and riveting conversation. Once again, my name is Selam Adunu. Welcome to the program. We'll take a short break, return, provide you updates, introduce our guests, and we'll get the discussion underway. Once again, you're welcome. You're welcome back to the big issue, live on 97.3 Citi FM. 2 issues this morning, whether the media is under siege, the UTV and the MPP tag invasion incident. And just last night, a CCTV reporter was also attacked at an NDC program. The media really under siege. What is happening? We also look at government's battle against corruption. We have a discontented OSP, the AG's report on Professor Frimpong Boateng and Ato Essien's incarceration. But let me just provide you some updates. Now, the Ghana Police Service apprehended 16 individuals who had invaded the UTV studios in Accra. This intervention came in response to a complaint from the Despite Media Group and the Ministry of Information, who reported the intrusion during a live broadcast. The disturbance disrupted the show, leading to an abrupt cessation of the broadcast, replaced by commercials. Subsequent online videos revealed the unsettling incident. The group responsible for the intrusion claimed affiliation with the New Patriotic Party and demanded an apology from a panelist called A+, resorting to threats. Their grievances were related to perceived disrespect by the musician turned politician towards the MPP, President Akufo-Addo, and the Vice President, Dr. Bawumia. The Ghana Police Service promptly responded to the situation, apprehending the 16 individuals in connection with the event. There is more in the following report.
On September 19, 2023, Justin Frimpong Kudia, the General Secretary of the New Patriotic Party,
he's joining on
Despite Media's General Manager. The letter outlined several demands, claiming that the United Showbiz program on UTV was favoring the opposition NDC's interests and needed reforms. It criticized the program for featuring individuals who use strong language and insults against the president, calling for NPP representation to ensure fairness. This letter caused discontent among some regular show panelists, including the controversial musician and activist Kwame Asari Obeng, also known as A+.
So let away NPP for we will attack you more. And will be Mamun Chobium, let away letter phone. Letter from you cannot, nobody in this country can decide what we do on this show.
On Saturday, October 7, 2023, a group of about 16 individuals invaded UTV's premises and studios. They specifically wanted to meet Kwame A+, citing his previous comments on the same program as their reason.
He was able to sit here and tear our document. That is our property. We need him to render an unqualified apology. Again, the same person has insulted our General Secretary, he has insulted our Vice President, he has insulted our President. And there's nobody here to defend them. It is unfair on our part. That is why we have come here and want to be part of the program. With all due respect, we respect you so much. Well, the program has turned into a political show. So if you want us to move outside before they start the program and you can assure us that we'll come inside, fine. However, that notwithstanding, we expect that at least, even if you allow maybe about 3 or 4 of us to be here, and then the rest of the team or the invited guests can also join, we'll be glad to do so.
According to these individuals, A+'s alleged comments were contributing to the NPP's declining popularity. A+, narrowly avoiding the intruders, later used the platform to challenge those he believed were responsible for this act of lawlessness.
When John Mahama was president of Ghana, then what happened? What happened? And these things have been going on to the extent, say, judge the court ADSM, then some boys can go and overrun the court and sack the judge in a country where the president is a part of the Bar Association.
Shortly after this incident, the Ghana Police Service confirmed the arrest of these 16 individuals based on an official complaint from UTV's management. The Ministry of Information also issued a press statement condemning the act and urging journalists to exercise caution in program moderation. Richard Ahiagba, the communications director of the NPP, visited the TV station to disassociate the party from the individuals' actions and extended an apology to the station's management and viewers.
Producer Paco and a frame, and there are some too many baby cost on a minimum who be an anam so baby. And the Sadia Maba, na me buy no sema na me teach na kwakwa ese nkrofobia o madinji bibi ho ona o maba na de be kote no so yese bia o mo ye MPP4 ana asa ese dia party and ni pe bi echi be kokoko esa ade no me hwe mu no ye ni direction bi afi party say obi mra no be say esa issue yi enti de see no most unfortunate as a party no yemfo aso yebeka say obi emfi ye akachi embe say program mo mahihye amoye magana for 80 in the piano enya dia MPP ya ahihye say obi mbe yesa enti no me call police station na mahu say omoje omo statement enti I encourage omo say omoje omo statement na omonya investigation dey hu baby adenifi eba say be ya ye dey yi ebetu yi.
Meanwhile, the opposition National Democratic Congress (NDC) released a press statement condemning the NPP for the behavior of its members. The National Media Commission expressed concern about the incident and committed to assisting the police in their ongoing investigation.
All right, so that was a report on the happenings there. Meanwhile, the Information Minister, Kojo Nkrumah, has asserted that his ministry has been consistent in its condemnation of attacks on media houses perpetrated by thugs affiliated with political parties. His remarks come in response to the GJA, which expressed its appointment with Nkrumah's statement regarding the assault on UTV in Accra. In a statement signed by the General Secretary of the GJA, Kofi Yeboah, it was pointed out that the minister had failed to directly denounce the attack on UTV. The GJA deemed the minister's statement as lacking in decisiveness and criticized his attempt to justify the attack by mentioning alleged unauthorized entry by the assailants. They noted that the minister himself had reported the incident to the police. In response to these claims, Kojo Nkrumah defended his position on the City breakfast shows, asserting that the allegations by the GJA were unfounded.
To all the three statements we've issued, even before this particular one, we as the Ministry of Information never go out to describe in particular set of words what has happened. We tell the public the report we have received. So let me take you back and give you the evidence. When in May 2022, we issued a statement on Radio Benya. I want to read you the first paragraph of the statement. We said we note with concern the report of an attack on the station. Let me give you the example of, because what we had received was reports of an attack. Then in January 2022, when we issued the statement on Radio Ada, we said the Minister of Information notes with alarm reports of an attack on the station. Those were the reports we had received. In May 2023, when we issued the statement, I think, about Dagon FM, we said we note with concern this time there was reports of an assault. In this particular instance, we did not describe it as alleged something. We said we have received reports at our media monitoring center that some persons had entered the studios allegedly without authorization. That's the report that we have received. And every time we issue a statement, we talk about the report we have received. When we received this report, that was when we then asked for validation, and then we called the police to go and investigate what has happened. In all the incidents that happened, when we receive a report, we tell the public the kind of report we have received. We call the police directly and tell them that this is the report we have received. Go in and investigate. Mm-hmm. And then we also, like I mentioned to you about 3 months ago, invite the police to come and give us an update of the investigation following the report that we got and we brought to your attention. I believe that the view that we have described it differently is not correct. We have consistently told the public the kind of report we receive. Number two, I noticed, and I believe you are referring to the GJA statement, I noticed that the GJA statement suggests that we have been uneven-handed in dealing with the situation, because in some instances we call the station and the presenters to offer support, but in this one we didn't do it. That's why I regret that whoever issued the statement did not even bother to maybe give us a call or confirm with us what has transpired. In fact, when I saw it, I actually thought it was a fake statement. So I sent it to the GGA president himself. He has not replied me even as of now.
Yeah, but Kojo, fair enough. The journalist in question, of course, UTV Studio had a whole show going on, but the person they were looking for is A+, because he was the person who they were asking to be removed from the program. So the question would be, if you use the track record of all the things you've done, of course, we are not saying he was attacked physically, but in consistency with the 4 things you've told me, then it suggests that you would have called him because he's the person who they were looking for.
Exactly. So now let me answer you. When we received the report, I told you the report we received. We received reports of alleged unauthorized entry. I first called the station manager, which is what we always do, this time Father Dixon. When I couldn't reach him, I called Sefakai directly. You may call Sefakai who attest to it. And I called the host of the program, Ms. G. In fact, she herself on her show with her panelists there after my call, this is before they went on air, acknowledged that I had personally called to speak to them to find out whether anybody had been hurt or had been injured. So just to end on your point, the GGA did not have this fact. They did not bother to check this fact with anybody. That's why I was a bit surprised when I saw this. So I forwarded it to them. If I may land. So that's why I forwarded it to them to find out whether they really wrote this, because what they've written is at variance with the fact.
So if the Minister of Information is going to issue a statement primarily on the matter, the weight of responsibility should not be on the media. The weight should be on the guys. Should be on the guys who did. Be on the guys who did what they did.
The weight of responsibility, if I may respond to that, the weight of responsibility is not pushed onto the media. Please listen to me. In the first statement that you read, and all the ones I've read, we tell you exactly the report we received. In Radio Dagon, we did not receive a report of alleged assault. We received a report of an assault with a video attached to it. What we did was to tell the public that we have received a report of an assault. In the case of UTV, what our Media Monitoring Center informed us was a report of alleged unauthorized entry into the station. And it is exactly that we told the public. We are not the ones who have introduced the word alleged here. The report we get is the report that we put out there.
All right, so you saw or heard that report. That interview really between Bernard Abler and Kojo Ponkrumah, Information Minister, on government statements on the incident at UTV. My guest this morning, Edward Bauer, Member of Parliament for Bongo, Dennis Abuaji, Miracles, Presidential Staffer and a spokesperson, communications team member of the government. Franklin Kujo, President, Imani Africa, and also Duke Aaron Sasu, who's a member of the Movement for Change and a private legal practitioner. Gentlemen, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Yes. Over the weekend, we saw this attack on a huge media house, the UTV. There was a live program ongoing. I start off with you, Dennis. Huge media house, huge program ongoing, very huge listenership as well, or viewership. All of a sudden, the program was interrupted, and hoodlums, thugs, young guys from your party invaded the station, demanding representation, saying that they did not have a member of the party on the panel. This shocked a lot of people, and here we are wondering what has happened to the progress we've made as a people in terms of media freedom and all of that. This should come to you, Dennis, as a member of the governing party and as presidential staffer, as a very disappointing episode.
Thank you, and a very warm good morning to my senior. I have spoken to some of the guys who were in the UTV studios, because I know them. And let me also say that I don't think they are hoodlums, and I also don't think that they are thugs. I believe that if they are given another opportunity, they would have handled this particular matter differently. the guys who were in the UTV studio are party people. As a matter of fact, some of them are constituency youth organizers, some are regional youth organizers. So I find it quite unfair that a lot of the news carried describes them as thugs and hoodlums. Because, I mean, there is no report of any vandalism. They didn't go there with any weapons. They didn't break into the studios. They actually walked into the studios and all of that. But like I said, if they are given an opportunity, they will handle this matter differently, Salom. It's a big worry for me that in 2023, we still have people within our political space, like our young guys who went to the UTV, who still do not accept the fact that we are in a free speech world, where everybody should be able to say whatever, however they want to say it, so long as it doesn't breach the peace of our nation. And I am an advocate for brute conversation within every democratic space. I mean, I really don't care what you say about me. I know when I get an opportunity, I'll also say mine. And so if we still have situations where people would come and attack or sought to forcefully, not allow you to make your point, then it's a worry. And so I, over the whole week, have been asking that we do not make this an MPP problem. It is actually a Ghana problem. Because if you look at all the news and all the things that happen around this issue of somebody has said this and some youth groups and all of that have gone to attack, it's always coming from the political parties. It tells you that we have a lot of work to do when it comes to ensuring that these are young people understand the dispensation within which we operate. The recent by-election in Assin North, whilst the NDC were having a press conference, and the stories are here. If you go to, the gentleman's name was Odum Prince. And this press conference was held at St. Andrews Senior High School. The youth, the NDC youth present, actually attacked the Citi FM reporter. And when I was making this point this week on the Ecosystem that we should not allow ourselves to be drawn into the MPP NDC around this matter. Some disagreed with me, but the week didn't end. And yesterday, our friend, our sister Akosia, has also been attacked. It reinforces my point that we can do politics and take advantage of it anyhow we want, but we should not lose sight of the substance. So after we've taken political advantage and made a noise about MPP4, then we should still come back to the substance. So yesterday, for instance, I posted the NDC attack on Akosia. I will also juice it, but eventually we must still come to the substance of the matter. My only concern and worry is when we take all the political advantage of these issues, and then we allow the substance of the issue. The substance is that we still have people within our democratic space who still do not think that everybody should say what they want to say. And they feel that until they also have the chance to say it at the same time you are saying it, then you cannot be allowed to say it. That's a worry. And it's happening all over the place. The Dagbon attack on the Dagbon Media House by the former deputy regional communications officer of the DC. It happened. MPP youth have also had their own share of these things in other places. So it means that this is not the time to do MPP and DC. There are stakeholders within this whole conversation who must all be called out and everybody really directed, so that if there's a young person watching us today, after this conversation we say that, oh, okay, so in spite of all the concerns that this youth raised, if a similar scenario should happen in my area in Bongo, this is how I should handle it. Because people really genuinely don't know, I'm telling you. Some of the we have a political party where we are still growing, political parties where we are still growing. For some of the people, it's about, we will not allow them to say anything about NDC or allow them to say anything about MPP. And that is dangerous, Elon. Especially for those of us who come and sit on TV and radio. Imagine I step out right now, and then some NDC youth, you accost me on the company, say, hey, you said this, that. Or honorable constituency, when you were talking, the way you addressed our honorable member of parliament, we didn't like it, and so we are coming to attack you. For me, I think that's where the danger is. And so, what is the responsibility of the media house? What is the responsibility of the media panelists, or the panelists who go on the show? And what is the responsibility of these young people? The law should take its course. It should deal with them, but it doesn't solve it. And so after all of that has happened, how do we resolve the issues? And I commend Kujo upon Nkrumah and the police, and then Richard Ahiabra, my comms director, with the way and manner they've handled it. And I think that we should take a cue from this and really begin to do a lot more sensitization and advocacy on these issues like this. Because if I come and sit here, imagine seated here, and NDC has written a letter to Citi and raised concerns about Citi FM's issues. The law does not allow NDC to dictate the Citi FM's editorial policy. But the law also doesn't stop NDC from expressing their views. And so this is not the first time this has happened. In fact, political parties have been writing letters to media houses expressing how they feel. The NDC boycotted Peace FM. They actually issued a press statement and indicated the fact that they have concerns with even the paneling on the Kokroko show, where they felt that even some panelists should not be brought onto the show. It doesn't mean that Peace FM will comply. In fact, they never complied. But you can't also take that right away from the NDC in expressing their views. So if the NDC writes to you, you cannot sit on TV after you disagreed with them, say whatever you want to say, that's fine. But to tear the letter is an act of provocation, and that's even a crime in our laws. Because if you sit on TV and use words in the exercise of your rights, free speech rights, you use words that provokes, that incites, that can cause public agitations, that is also against the law. And so the free speech is not free, like without bounds. It is free within a certain context of responsibility. And so we need to now segregate each of these stakeholders and say, media house, when the gentleman was tearing this paper, maybe you should have drawn his attention that, hey, no, you can express your views, because there are over 17 million people who voted for this political, 7 million people who voted for this political party. Even though I am probably in the party and have a constituency in the Kapunda where I am probably a leading figure, I do not control them at 10 p.m. or 11 p.m. on how they should act. So you should also be measured. But to pick the party's letter and then on live TV, as you insult, you use abusive words, you are tearing it, is an act of provocation. You are.
Person use abusive words.
Yes. Sure. Oh, yes. Oh, watch the video again. Yeah. I mean, what's abusive? What's abusive?
No, you are using.
At some point, he said, you watch the whole show. Watch the whole show. You understand? So if you do all those things and it's an act of provocation. As a matter of fact, even in our own customs, values, when someone writes to you and you tear it, you can disagree with the person, but when you tear it, it sends a signal. And for me, I feel that the media house had a responsibility to draw his attention. I have no issue against individuals who want to express their views as forceful as well. Me, I don't care. Because I am on the view that no matter what you say, when I have the chance, I will also say something. So you say whatever you want to say, I will say mine. So I have no problem with people disagreeing with political parties and government. It means nothing. When you also get your turn, you speak, but don't engage in abuse. And tearing the letter is an act of provocation. It was a bit
disconcerting for me when we later, revelations said that they were led by certain key actors. I mean, key party appointees or constituency executives and all of that.
Absolutely.
That is terrible.
Yes, that is what I have raised, and that's what I have said. I've told you that speaking with these guys, and that's why they cannot be described as hoodlums and thugs, because one, they didn't go with weapons, and we must acknowledge that as well.
But we don't even know what they had.
No, they did not. We know, because they were there, they're on camera.
No, but if they had weapons on them, maybe the situation didn't arise for them to abuse the weapons.
You cannot assume what you do can't establish.
Yeah, so you don't also say... No, so you don't...
They didn't.
No, so you don't also say that they didn't go with it.
They didn't go, I know that for a fact.
But they could have gone with it.
But they didn't.
But the situation didn't arise.
We know them. No, we've spoken to them, and there was no evidence of that.
No, but you are being conclusive.
At this point, no, I am, because at this point, between you and I, you are the one assuming. I am establishing a fact because there was no evidence of same.
Yeah, but you are saying
they were taken straight away to the police, and the police didn't find any weapons on them. So right now, you are the one assuming. I am speaking to facts. Unless you can prove otherwise, mine would stand, because they were arrested right from there, taken to the police, and the police found no. I want us to understand. So So they are not hoodlums. They are identified individuals of the party leading their various constituencies. But like I said, if they are given another
but that was an act of thuggery. That's what hoodlums.
No, not necessarily.
That was a violent act.
The only difference between them and the 37 occupiers is that they didn't notify police. That's the only difference. That is the only difference. The fact that there were about 16 members in the attacks, the only difference between them and the 37 occupiers is that they didn't notify police. Were they taxed? Those who did the Occupy Jubilee, were they taxed? I think sometimes we shouldn't cloud the substance with some of these descriptions. They were wrong. They were not supposed to have done that. Speaking to them, if they had another chance, they would have handled it differently. But come on, we can't superimpose descriptions and identities based on how we feel.
Storming a station, they didn't
break into the station.
That's unauthorized
entry. Yes, that's what I'm saying.
And all of that. This could be acts of violence.
No, it's not. It's not. Perfectly right. It was unauthorized.
If you have people marching here, hurling words at us, that's violence.
No, it's not. What is violence? Was it violence when we were doing our protest in 2016? Was it violent when the NDC are doing their protest? They were protesting, but they protested wrongly.
So if you protest wrongly, protests can go wrong.
No, but that's not thuggery.
No, protests can go wrong.
But that doesn't make it thuggery. You are shifting the conversation. You are making us drift away. And I'm saying that we cannot do that. It is not thuggery. It is wrong. If I wake up this morning and I say I disagree with what Honorable MP is saying, and I walk in here, and I say, Honorable, what you are doing, it's not necessarily because I am a thug. Because I am no, but you haven't proven otherwise.
No, I'm saying that the way you said you walk in here.
Yes, but they did. They didn't break any door. They didn't break any property. They didn't destroy any property.
But you know what they did to their security man?
They didn't do anything. We know that they didn't do anything.
Just said security man, good morning, good evening.
We know that they didn't do anything because the police have gone into the matter. We know that they didn't do anything. You see, we cannot continue to assume when the facts are there.
So what I've not seen any police facts.
No, but why? With the spoke on TV, even the UTV, the issue they are stated, did they indicate anywhere that when they came, they didn't enter their security? So, again, if I don't bring the conversation back on track, by the time we finish, it's turned into miracles, but that's not the fact. What I am saying is that these issues happened yesterday. See what happened to Akosia. If we don't deal with it again and deal with it to the bottom, trust me, the next one, CPP will do it. The next time we'll PNC, and then we'll come and talk about it. The reality is that we have a democracy where we still have people who are still not tolerant to views.
Very well.
And so we need to address that aspect of it. And guys, those of you who went to the ODOD office or the ODOD primaries to go and disrupt the NDC and they are vetting and break chairs and beat the Citi FM reporter, please, you don't do that. MPP, those of you who went to the UTV studio to go and disrupt the live program, you don't do that. And it's happened this year. It happened that FM, Asimbreku press conference, the Peace FM reporter. It happened all over the place. And whenever it happens, we are quick to move into issues of MPP, NDC. I said I refuse to be part of that. I believe strongly that it is a threat to our democracy. It is a danger to all of us. And we need to take the sentiment and political capital out of this and deal with the matter. I'm yet to, as a wrap up, I'm yet to hear Kojo Oponkroma and the Information Minister on the Akosia matter. I think they need to do it quickly so that those who were involved in it yesterday will also know that, hey, ours is not less difficult or dangerous than the ones that happened 4 days ago. The GJA are also here to speak on the Akosia matter. I'm here to also see the police also deal with the matter. Is it the case that when it comes to NDC, violence has come home, so it's no surprise? And that is why they don't want to talk about it? Because this morning, I was also expecting that immediately as the issue happened yesterday, even your show, you would have tweaked the topic to include UTV, you say tax, MPP tax,
but did you hear my intro?
NDC tax.
Did you hear my intro?
No, but the topic that was
did you hear my intro?
Okay, I'm sorry.
This topic was prepared yesterday. They have to be.
So this one you amended.
No, but did you hear my intro?
Apologies.
You are not okay.
Apologies.
But if you didn't hear, your point is fine.
That is my
your point is fine. So I think it's laid a very important foundation that violence we should not politicize violence. And we were talking about UTV, and yesterday something else happened. But what do you think, really? You think that the system is degenerating to the extent that political actors are no longer tolerant of divergent views, and even in this case, intra-party, disagreements or clash of views can lead to, such violence that people will be injured, even party people and all of that. We thought we were making progress until these incidents, started occurring. Is this something we must be worried about?
Yeah, thank you very much, Salam, and then good morning to Dennis. When they were introducing you, just last week or this week, I got to know that beyond just being a presidential staffer, you are also the head of IMCC.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's a big man. The guy is a big man. Dealing with donor agencies. So it's a big money. So when you see him and you just say presidential staffer, it's so pedestrian. You go back to where he controls huge sums of money.
No, it's plenty job.
So, but see, listening to Dennis, one of the things that I agree with him when he says that as Ghanaians, we should look at the issues of attack of the media houses and other things as a Ghanaian problem. And because it occurs in all other political parties. But where I am so sad is the fact that he seems in his argument, he tries to justify the behavior. And tries to create the impression that there was a trigger. And therefore, it is on the basis of that these people did that. He turns on to try to, let's say that, he knows these guys, he knows them, they are very fine gentlemen. I agree with you. But taggery, so nobody is born as a tag. It is your behavior that makes it so. Were they aggressive when they went there? Yes, they were aggressive. Were they committing a crime? Yes, they were committing a crime. They form part of the ingredients of taggery. And so to indicate that that was a wrong description of them is simply wrong. 2, let me start my submission by, just here I got to know about the issue of the case. Yes. Where if what you told me is anything to go by, there was an agitation because one of the candidates, they felt that one of the candidates did not qualify to contest. So when they finally vetted the person, and then at the end of the day, the supporters of other candidates decided to say that, look, what the party was doing was wrong, so they became aggressive. And in the course of that, the lady became part of the casualty in terms of the attacks that were made. Let me first and foremost say that if these facts as presented to me are what it actually was, that I apologize to your media house, apologize to the lady, and wish her a speedy recovery. And also to tell our party people that, look, yes, I can understand sometimes the emotions that come with issues of primaries and who qualifies and trying to get your candidate's interests protected. But in doing that, you need to be able to isolate it, that there are other people who also come there as part of their constitutional mandate to cover such programs. And therefore, such people should be protected. So let me unreservedly apologize to the lady and wish her a speedy recovery. Apologize to the media house. But I believe that the party in subsequent period will definitely come out.
So your screen is a act of violence.
Yes.
That began at a place, the people destroying chairs. And all of that, and so it degenerated further.
And then basically she became a casualty of that. So I need to apologize for that. But see, I can understand when you indicate that, look, sometimes because democracy is just 30 years, isn't it? Thereabout. Okay. Even democracies where you have about 200 years, I'm talking about the US and other things, you have situations where sometimes the conduct of individuals or conduct of persons can infringe upon the constitutional rights of media houses and what have you. So I can understand those things. And we are still in the learning point. We are still in the infant stage when it comes to issues of democracy. But I cannot understand when you have a situation where the state that is supposed to lead in protecting these rights, the state itself becomes the perpetrator of the violation of these rights. You know, obviously, Chapter 12 of our Constitution guarantees the media houses and as to how they operate and what have you. Yes, the guys who went to UTV, it is true that maybe you think that they are young people. But let's look at the incidents that predicated that. You had your deputy communications director. And this is not, if somebody from Odio or maybe somebody from Kolikulote decides to go and do that, I can understand that. But you have a deputy director of communications who goes to another sister station and then incites the youth against the station and questions them why they were being dormant and not reacting to what was happening. So I can excuse the guys themselves who went there. But what about the individual who is a party officer at the national level? No less a person, the deputy director of communication, goes to another station and incites this youth against the radio station. You cannot for a moment say that this then becomes a it's a party problem, because there must be a level of discipline and you must show leadership to the people who are following you. So if you, as a director of communication, you go to say this, then how then do you justify the behavior? That's the first point. Secondly, look, in your own station here, and I believe the one in, what's the name? Adabraka. You had a situation where national security operatives, these are state people we pay with our tax. They storm into your studios, come after a helpless journalist. What was her crime? She had received files, video files, from another colleague who had been arrested. Because what was he doing? He was taking pictures of, what do you call it?
Abandoned cars.
Abandoned cars at the National Security Secretariat. This is the state. We're not talking about just individuals. This is the state perpetuating this.
So they were national security installations.
Yes. This is the state that was doing that. Two, you had a situation where the same national security operatives, they storm into modernghana.com, arrest their editor, arrest a reporter, detain them and molest them. What was their crime? That they were being critical of the Minister for National Security. And they had published something. That was that. So when you see situations like this, you don't justify by saying that, look, what do you call it? Oh, yes, it's a Ghana problem. I can understand because sometimes some people can be so unguarded. You know, all of us have them in our various places. People become too exuberant. They think that is what they are doing to protect the party. I can understand those ones. And so that's why he was excited.
Because the parties, like you also said, are not doing enough to rein in these misguided elements, which two of you claim do not represent, you know.
Yes, but the point I'm just making is that I am isolating the issues. That I can understand if, for example, you have a situation where these boys rush into the place. They may not even know the consequences of what they are doing. They may not even be aware of the provisions within the Constitution. But I fail to accept that a deputy communication officer of the party at the national level, that's a director at the national level, will instigate the youth against that particular TV station. That is the problem I'm making. Because it is your behavior, because you are supposed to offer leadership. And particularly the fact that you, by your position, you interact with the media and you can instigate your party youth against them. That is the problem I have.
So your point is that, I mean, you're trying to distinguish one from the other. One appears organized.
And
the other one was spontaneous.
Spontaneous. You can have those things. You just showed us the issue of Ododio's case. They did not necessarily have a problem with the reporter. They had a problem with the process. And in the course of that, became violent. And in the course of the violence, the lady became a casualty. You understand? It still does not excuse their behavior. And I think that parties, and for that matter, the constituency hierarchy should be able to find a way of indicating very clearly to such individuals that, look, there's a line between the journalist who comes to cover, because the person has no interest. All he's trying to do, what is the rule? Why do we guarantee, the freedom of the press? For various reasons. Transparency, accountability, what have you. That's what we do. So they are there to just, play their role. So I can understand it. But when you have state institutions violating the constitutional provisions as captured in Chapter 12 of the Constitution, then I have a problem. You cannot excuse that. And if you look at it, since the 1992 up to now, and you look at our standings in the the World Press Index, you realize that we are constantly we are constantly going back. You remember last year we were 60th on the rankings. This year we have fallen to 62nd because of the behavior that we put up there. It is because of the fact that we begin to, as what Dennis did, justify the behavior of the assaults of media houses.
I'm here. Don't do that.
No, I'm serious. And I explain.
Because I haven't.
He didn't quite.
Look, I can explain to you why
he started by condemning it. And said it was
what I said is no different, and if I may, I beg you, what I said is no different from what you sought to do. You sought to clarify the NDC assault at Ododio as that they had a problem with the party, it wasn't organized, and then Akosombo was a casualty. I don't think you are justifying it, but you're trying to clarify it. Is that any different from what?
No, so let me tell you why you're saying.
So I'm just saying that.
So let me not
for the record,
so let me explain to you.
For the record, I will not be drawn into that. I have not. Let me just make that categorical so that I don't associate with me. Okay. I have not justified what happened at UTV.
When you make a statement and you tend to say that, look, a gentleman that's A+ was on radio on TV. So I try to say because it is his behavior, the fact that he tore on live TV and that things. You are trying to give the basis under which the guys behaved.
Oh no! When you do that, it's
no. I don't have a choice. You are trying. You are trying to justify. Basically, you are trying to justify that. Look, because the guy behaved the way he behaved, it provoked them. Because he was talking about provocation, so they were provoked. So that's the justification for it. That was me. And I said that, look, I agree that these problems are cut across in political parties. But if you look at the situation in which we find ourselves now, it is not only just our party followers who are doing these things. Party officers at high levels, national security operatives, state institutions are those involved in the evaluation of the rights of these media houses. And that's the point I'm just trying to make, that in doing some of these things, look, and I'm surprised. In your intro, I think you even raised the issue here. You have a situation where over the years, you had a president who built a career out of fighting for the rights of individuals. Am I right? He was a human rights campaigner. He was somebody who stood for the freedom of the press. He himself used the press to a very large extent. And under his stewardship, you have a situation where our performance in terms of the freedom of the press, the performance in the international rankings is deteriorating on daily basis. Under his worship, his stewardship, we have a situation where state institutions are now becoming the tools in violating these particular rights. Under his watch, you have situations where journalists can be arrested, locked up, and molested. What is the crime? Just because they are critical of a state official. Well. If you have situations like this, then what was the purpose for what happened when the issue of the criminal libel law was repealed under Kufuor? Because even that had to do with just the basis of the fact that, look, you had committed a crime, your publication was seditious, it was bad, and they could prosecute you. So if you think that the minister for national security was defamed, he had all the rights. Recently, the issue of what do you call these people again? The guys who just demonstrated recently.
Is it the BOG or the?
Not the BOG one.
The Democratic Hub.
Democracy had the guy there, Oliver. Oliver had made some utterances. The national security minister thinks that what he did, he had defamed him. He decided to go to court. Is that not it? What prevented the minister of national security, if he felt that he had been defamed, he felt that what they did to him was libelous, he could have gone to court. But he decided to use his operatives to go and do things like that. So yes, let's consider this particular problem as a Ghana problem. But once we consider it as a Ghana problem, let's also begin to realize that even we as leaders, we are not behaving right, and particularly under this government. I think that the media has really been attacked to an extent that it is not being welcoming.
Very well. Let me speak to Franklin.
If I may,
let me speak to Franklin. No, you come in. I'll give you the chance. When you
I know, but you were able to justify.
So Franklin, I mean, you watching from the civil society space. I don't know how you view the incidents of political, the intolerance of political activists, against media and what media people do these days. We're just talking about the UTV incident, and yesterday another one also happens to our own Akosia. Your thoughts, and I mean, interrupt you, take a break, and come back.
Well, I mean, good morning to my good friends in the studio and to everybody listening and watching. I guess I'm particularly surprised that at a time when everyone is going through some form of economic challenge, we actually would find time and spend our energies to be discussing, for people actually to go out of their way and initiate actions that would annoy everybody else. So for me, I'm a bit ambivalent because it's become part and parcel of our body politic anyway. And so I wasn't entirely surprised to see what happened. Not that we should accept it, but I think that the things that worry us greatly right now are bread and butter issues. And I'm surprised that the gentleman who went into that studio, well, they are gentlemen, in quotes, who went into that studio to go and attempt to forcibly evict a panelist, probably are well-to-do, and they probably are so comfortable that they did not see anything at all that should be discussed concerning the economy of the country. And if a member of their own party is discussing it, it's the way they choose to go and deal with him and disrupt the program. Well, the jury is still out there. So I really don't have anything to say except to say that it is condemnable and that these persons possibly do not live in Ghana at the moment. So they think everything is okay. There's nothing wrong if a member of your party is actually disagreeing with you, right? In fact, indeed, if the panelist, whether belongs to your party or not, disagrees with the way the economy is being handled, everyone should be free to air his or her views, and nobody should be attacked for it at all. So, as Dennis said, these guys who, well, maybe they are not tags, but they intended to be tagging. I don't know. I hope that the party manages to deal with them. We've already condemned it on certain things. I watched that program and I was mortified. And after what I saw was quite, it was too dastardly for my liking. And I'll be watching tomorrow. I hope nothing, tonight actually. And I hope that.
You watch tonight. I'm sure tonight they'll have one of the biggest viewership ever. Because a lot of people will be wanting to see. A lot of people will be watching to see what happens. We'll take a short break. We'll return and continue on this particular discussion on the media attack by politicians. Don't go away. You're welcome back to the big issue. Very warm welcome to TV viewers as well. Now 97.3 Citi FM on Facebook and on other socials. The show is live and interactive. You can join the discussion via the WhatsApp number, which is displayed on your screen, 020-444-7033, and we'll be happy to share your views with the rest of the world. It's a platform for incisive analysis and riveting conversation. This morning, we're looking at two issues. We're asking whether the media is under siege. We have a UTV program which was disrupted by tags from the MPP. One of my panelists said they are not tags, they are identified people. I take note. And also, that was over the weekend. And also, yesterday, at an NDC vetting event, some members of the party who support one of the candidates were angry and they got violent and attacked, anything which came their way, attacked party people and attacked a journalist, our journalist, Akosombo Dam, who was hurt and is still recuperating. It's very unfortunate, many have said. But what really is the state of affairs? We appear to be having a lot of these in recent times, attacks on radio stations by elements in the political parties who appear intolerant to dissenting views. In the case of the UTV, the organized group went there to demand representation. They said that it was an entertainment show, but they were discussing politics, and so they demanded that the MPP be represented on that program. What right really do they have to do that? Did the party or did the radio station or the TV station, UTV, have any role to play as well? Did they check any responsibility? You know, are they to blame someone for whatever happened? Or the guys were wrong, so the guys were wrong. We understand they were arrested, statements taken and granted bail. We are eagerly awaiting to see what happens next. That is our discussion this morning. On the second segment of the show, we'll look at government's battle against corruption. This week has been quite heavy on many matters like that. We have an OSP who appeared discontented, is asking the Chief Justice to replace or remove the judge on the Cecilia Dapa matter because, according to the OSP, OSP says the judge is prejudiced against the person of the special prosecutor and the office as well. They do not think that they will get justice with the judge sitting on the matter. The AG's report on the Professor Frimpong Boateng matter on Galamsey, the AG doesn't appear to see anything in there because it says Professor Frimpong Boateng failed to provide critical evidence that it will need to pin down whoever. And Ato Essien, that young chief executive officer, former chief executive officer of the defunct Capital Bank, was handed down a 15-year jail sentence yesterday because he failed to fulfill terms of an arrangement he had with the state to pay 90 million cedis. They agreed after he pleaded guilty. He failed to do so. He paid only 37 million, and the rest of it he was unable to pay, so he has to do time in jail. That's the matter. We are looking at government's fight against corruption. This week has been heavy on that. My guest helping me do the discussion, Edward Bauer, MP Bongo constituency. There is Aboaji, presidential staffer, Franklin Kujo, President Imani Africa, and Duke Aaron Sasu, member of the Movement for Change and a private legal practitioner. So we've just been looking at this matter of the UTV, whether there was any justification for the invasion. You know, when somebody tears a document on TV, will you say that you've been provoked? For which reason you will organize yourselves and invade the station? This is the matter we are generally discussing. Dennis, I come back to you. People are worried that we have a lot of attacks happening on media in President Akufo-Addo's government, you know, and that is quite worrying for a leader who claimed to have championed the repeal of the criminal libel law. Of course, people think it's Kufuor's idea, and he as Attorney General did. But whatever the case, he was involved in it. He was successful, and a lot of other things he might have done in advancing free speech, etc. But now that he is in charge, people think that it is his intolerance or supposed intolerance for dissenting views that is percolating down and affecting how people in his party especially and the general public generally view the issue of dissent when people are having discussions on radio, people are expressing themselves on radio. What do you think?
I am very tempted, you know.
To equalize.
Very, very, very tempted.
To equalize.
Yes, the same like the way Honorable Bauer did. But some part of me is telling me that I shouldn't. And I think I'll listen to that small voice.
A still voice.
Yes, telling me that I shouldn't. Because I feel that it's a danger to all of us. And we could all be victims. This year, the last 4 attacks on media, 3 of them are NDC attacks. This year. There was one from June. At least let me recount the one I can recount from June. There was one in Asin Breku during the Asin North elections, the one I told you. The press conference where the national executives of the party were present, and I even understand that the former president was present. It's here. It's on Peace FM. The Peace FM gentleman was attacked. It was an NDC attack. The Dagbon FM attack. It was an NDC attack. Yesterday, our sister Akosombo's attack. It was an NDC.
The Dagbon one was what?
Yes, NDC, former deputy regional communications officer of NDC, attacked. In fact, he has been jailed. He went to court. He's been jailed.
Was it not the one that it was a religious problem?
No.
It was a religious issue.
Attack. So you are doing the justification.
No. The point I'm just trying to make is a religious.
We are talking about the attacks in the context of political intolerance.
Yeah, this is a religious issue.
What are you talking about?
This attack on media, yes.
What are you talking about?
But the context.
No. You see, then you are doing the real justification.
No. I am saying that no. So the justification. If it's religious tolerance or if it's religious intolerance. Maybe you may not be the one to speak on it. Okay.
What are you
speaking about political intolerance?
I'm confused about what you are talking about. Should I read the story for you?
So you can read it.
The radio host. Yes, let me read the story. A radio host.
So which where are you reading from?
Joy. A radio host with Dagbon Radio, Sadiq Abubakar, was attacked while hosting a live show TV. He was assaulted by the region's former deputy communications officer in the NDC, Hadi Paza, who stormed the facility and started an altercation. Prior to the incident, the panel have been having a discussion about the Ghana National Service in the region. And then he said, what have I done to you? The NDC member is heard saying that they barged in. Mr. Paza was in a campaign on animal who shouted, stop mentioning his name if you don't want to die. I don't know what.
So I mean that's bad enough. That's bad
and this is this year. It has nothing to do with. This is 4th May 2023. The last 4 that I can recall on top of my head, 3 of them are attacks on the media by NDC people. So if our media perception index or press freedom perception index or whatever the index is going down, you don't blame it solely on the Akufo-Addo and the MPP. Because if we were to count, you'd realize that my initial assertion stands that it is a Ghana problem and that we should stop trying to weed around the issue and face it and ask ourselves, what are the issues that may be triggering this? And what are the reasons why people still don't understand that these are not triggers enough? That's why when Obawa says that I was justifying it, I wanted to intervene. Because I have not done that on this show today.
But
and
when you sought to say the trigger for that was the
because you can't take me out of context. I said that there are stakeholders in this. And that as we push our democracy forward and we try to find solutions, everybody must be held accountable to be responsible for their mandate. So I spoke about the media. That was when I said that today, you think I can just sit here and insult everybody? Wouldn't you draw my attention? If I say somebody, excuse my language, I say, so and so, you're a fool. Is that trigger enough for you to come and meet me? But you draw my attention because it is provocative. It doesn't mean that somebody should come and beat me. But you have a responsibility to control me. Isn't it the case? So when I say that, how is that justification?
I see.
Isn't that what you are supposed to do? When I also come on the show as a panelist, am I not supposed to be decorous enough? Am I not supposed to also stay within a certain bounds in expressing my view and expressing my opinion? That is the sort of conversation I'm saying we should have. And I will not allow anybody to draw me out of that. I think that in the press freedom, in the free speech context, there are responsibilities and mandates for each of the stakeholders. And all of these stakeholders must be called out to live up to expectation. That is what I am saying. Because if we begin to say, and the Akufo-Addo is this and that, under President Mahama, there were several attacks on the media. Several of them. Some of them taken to the BNI, where people now have to go and mass up and get them released. There were several of them. Some of them would drop at the airport and they'll be arrested and taken to unknown locations. The media in this country. Should we continue to do this? Do you remember Kwesi Parker Wilson? This is 30th October 2018. Kwesi Parker Wilson, this is his picture. That's his image here. He was beaten. 2018. 30th October 2018. He was beaten completely by NDC hoodlums. You understand? Is it that Akufo-Addo and the NDP went to do that? But it would continue to happen because we do not address the issues. Because everything Obama sought to do was to try and leave this show, create an impression that, oh, no. As for the NDC beating of Akosombo, it was a problem they had with their party, and that in the line of fire, Akosombo was there. That is what you say, and that, the MPP, the leadership, but if you think that in your party it's okay, when your party people attack your party and it's not the media, so it's okay, they will transfer it to the media and they will transfer it to other people who are not related.
So indeed,
none of them are okay.
Very well.
None of them are okay.
That's a good
I think that the media, the panelists, the expression of free speech, the political activists like the young people who went to the UTV studio and those who went to beat Akosia, all of them need to understand that we are in a society where if I think that what you are saying, I disagree with you, I am free to say it. My words are not weapons.
Very well. So now, in dealing with the issues, I think, and this is a platform to educate as well. Private stations, I mean, will you say that they have a right to empanel any kind of person they want to have a discussion and say what they want to say, and without the fear of being attacked by people who belong to the other side, who may disagree with what they say? I mean, and your people are listening, so we need to provide that education. Can private stations decide to empanel whoever they want to empanel and discuss whatever they want to discuss once it's within the confines of the law?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I can. You are allowed to. If I are allowed to have a monologue, and say, don't we have monologues in this country? We have shows where individuals say whatever they want to say.
Good evening, Ghana.
Good evening, Ghana. Donny's Bites. Captain Smart Show on Onuya FM. There are some on XYZ, some on Radio Gold, some on Oman FM. It's there. We shouldn't even make it look like we don't have it. There are some radio stations that are one way. Who doesn't know that Oman FM is a pure pro MPP and that it's purely MPP? Who doesn't know that Radio Gold XYZ are pure Class FM and it's other related station? What happens on Onuya FM? What happens on Onuya FM by Captain Smart? Is that balanced? But who cares? You cannot go and tell somebody who has set up his media, his business, as to how he should run it, so long as it's within the confines of the law. And the law gives us all the room to express our views. That is why I'm saying that I do not see anything wrong with what's going on.
So the point is, when you meet your activists, your youth and all of that, you tell them.
Exactly. That's why I told you initially that with the conversations I've had with them, if they had another opportunity to find themselves in that same space.
So now they know, but before they didn't know.
Of course.
So I'm saying that when you've been meeting them forever, and when you meet them and you're educating them, you're talking to them on what to do, don't you tell them these things?
We need to. And then again, it's not only about the activists. That is why I'm saying that when we get platforms like this, we shouldn't restrict it to just Dennis said this and Honorable Bauer said it and then we go away. We should also, by the end of the program, have used the platform to also do some education.
Exactly what
we are doing. Because you see, the people who went to the radio yesterday, not all of them are MPP executives.
NDC, you mean?
NDC executives. They are not necessarily NDC executives who are organized and they sit in a room and, like Honorable Bauer said, spontaneous. They are wearing T-shirts. Some of them, they will go and call them from their homes and then they wear it on them. And then they will go and do whatever they have to do. So, in that bigger context of deepening our democracy and enlightening people on what free speech is, Salom, all of us have that responsibility, not just the political parties in their meetings. Because you don't always have these attacks being executed by only party executives. Activists, some who never come to you at any party meeting, some who are only listening to the radio, some who are only following the news. So we need to continue the education because it is wrong. What the NDC guys did was wrong. What the MPP guys did was wrong. Under the MPP, there are media attacks. Under the NDC, there were media attacks. They haven't ended.
Is it because that the state hasn't been decisive in dealing with them, punishing them, serving as a deterrent, so that the rest of them will see that if you go this way, this is what will happen?
You know what I sincerely think? What I sincerely think is the last part. The part where parties and party activists, both in NPP and NDC, political office holders, think that so long as I am seen to be doing things in defense of my party, they will come to my defense. And you've seen it severally. You've seen instances where NDC people are arrested and the CID headquarters will be full of people. MPP people are arrested and the CID headquarters will be full of people. So I am of the strong view that when these people are perpetuating or engaging in some of these things, they seem to think that, oh, don't worry. In the morning when Honorable Bauer and Miracles are discussing it, they will find a way to still make me look good. I think that is the reason. And I think that we also have that huge responsibility of educating people what the free speech truly means. Both practitioners and consumers. Because the guy who is consuming the things I am saying is getting angry. This morning, of all the things that I have said, I haven't really said much. I'm sure somebody is very, very, very angry at what I am saying. But what can he do? He can't do much. Why? Because the law protects me to say what I want to say. Does that person understand that? Or he thinks that no, even where I meet on our Bow Miracles, I should slap you. Is that the thinking?
So see that the political parties will do what they have to do. We want them to be responsible. We want you guys to do. But you do what you will do. But the law enforcement is key. That's why the law enforcement sits in the middle. So that the law enforcement in this case, I'm talking about the state. If the police or whoever is in charge arrests and deals with the matter conclusively, if you have to be jailed, you are jailed. If you have to be fined, you are fined. You know, I'm sure this will reduce. But you have
no idea what ignorance can do.
This has been.
You have no idea what ignorance can do, and I still think that a lot of our challenges of our free speech and democracy is a matter of ignorance. I am telling you, and ignorance is so powerful that it is not afraid of jail until he gets into jail.
I see. So when the ignorance comes back from jail,
so you know what happens. Eventually, when the guy sits behind the counter and is now put in jail, then he begins to have.
So when he comes back, he will talk to his friends. Oh, and that message will go
that
around.
Political adrenaline. That thing.
That
is why I think that we need to deepen the sensitization. Because as for ignorance, that is why somebody would really go and commit a crime and think that I can walk. Because he is just completely oblivious of it.
Very well.
He thinks that, in fact, let me tell you one last thing. Some of these young guys think that sometimes they are rather protecting the democracy. You heard some of the boys say that, let us also speak so that there is balance. You heard them talk about balance. Because in their mind, they think that when they make the argument of balance, you and I listening to them will say, oh yeah, they are making sense, they are saying some sense. But that is not the reality. And I would not follow the bandwagon of putting the blame on NDC or MPP and who does much and who doesn't do much. See, I can prove for you kinds of media abuse under the NDC in the 8 years period. And I can prove for you kinds of media abuse under the MPP. And so if we say we are going to equalize, we are going to get the numbers to equalize. But that is not the way to go.
So let me put my question, you can deal with it. Yeah. So we've seen the outpouring of a lot of statements, condemnations, etc., from the Ministry of Information, the MPP itself, the NCC, a lot of bodies have condemned this. Beyond the condemnation, what should we be saying? He raises a point about education and ignorance and all of that. Beyond the condemnation, what do we do?
You see, it's okay. Thank you very much. You see, Salam, that is why I indicated, and I tried drawing a line between just what you call the ignorant, quote unquote, for want of a better word, ignorant people who do not really know the repercussions of what they do, and what are the rights that have been guaranteed under the 1992 Constitution, like our party followers and what have you. I intentionally drew a line between them and, for example, top party officials, state institutions, also involved in things like this. And that's why I tried drawing a line between the two. And I'm saying that, look, if you look under the presidency of Akosombo, there have been one too many in terms of state getting directly involved in this. The Bobia's issue, you remember when just on a show, he was having a program. The police stormed there and arrested him because he had said certain things. That's under Akosombo's government. You have a situation where they storm your own studios, Citi, and arrest a helpless lady. And her crime was just because she received files, video files from another colleague who had also been arrested.
So you are seeking to separate.
See, yes, I'm trying to see.
Ordinary people.
Yes, you see, there must be leadership. You see, if I sit down as an ordinary member of the party, and I hear my deputy communications director, national, trying to tell me on another station, what am I doing when this is what is being done to our party on UTV? I would draw a line between the reaction of the person who really responded to that particular conversation and the person who really instigated it. Because the person should know better. And that is why you are a party officer. You work within the confines of the law. And you know the basis under which the fact that the same law that allows you to exist as a political party is the same law that allows a media house to also exist. And so if you are the one doing that, then that's a problem. That's why I tried drawing the line between that. And I'm also indicating very clearly that, look, I agree that we must, and if you recall my opening statements, I had stated that, look, it's an infant democracy. We're still in the very infant stages. And therefore, there are a lot of things we will have to learn. But I have always believed that as you move on, I don't expect things that were done in 1993 to be done in 2023. I'm assuming that over the period we would have been developing, we would have been improving. That's what I'm saying. But it appears that since 2017 up to now, unfortunately, in the space of when it comes the issues about free speech, the issues about independence of the media, and then to give the media the freedom to be able to operate and operate very well, I think that we are deteriorating. And I'm giving you instances of state operators and party officials dealing in this, and these are the areas that I think that they are not excusable. Because, for example,
they ought to know better.
They ought to know better. They ought to know better. And so when you see things like that happening, then it becomes a problem. I was just trying to look. The last time I was checking on, you see, they normally will even put, in terms of the grading of our the media, the press freedom, they grade. There are different. They weight them differently. The actions of the states and the actions of just individuals, they are not weighed on the same levels. And so the actions of the state carries a bigger points in terms of things like that. So if you have a situation where the state itself is the one encroaching on the freedoms of the media, then it becomes a problem. And that is the point I was trying to draw. The other point I was just trying to make very clear. I said, look, the Ododio case that he said I tried making the look. My initial thing I said unreservedly I was apologizing. In fact, you remember that off air, I didn't even know that this issue had happened until you told me. And I said, oh, then this is bad. You understand? I tried condemning it, but I'm just trying to state very clearly that when we are, let's not justify their behavior, because the moment you start justifying, it means that there must be. How do you justify going to steal? You understand the point? Yeah. You can't justify going to steal. And so, in my opinion, I think that, look, under Nanado, there have been problems. And I've just given you, we currently now have the worst ranking. Last year, we were 60th. World ranking. This year, we are 62nd. There must be something we are doing wrong.
I see.
And that's the point I'm just saying.
So deal with what we can do now. A lot of condemnation has been issued.
Look, I think that continuously we need to have education. And I believe that that's why, for example, you had the NCCE getting involved in some of these things. The role of the NCCE at one point or that is supposed to also educate the people to know that these are your civic responsibilities. These are the things you should expect of others also doing. Because, see, we have not lived in a country where people have been used to this. Because democracy in itself has not been around for a very large extent. Our governance system has been permeated with militarism, and so we've not really developed that particular culture. So education, constant education is what we go. But I think the greater part of it is that party leaders must show by example. State institutions must show by example. It is when they see things like this. For example, if I'm seated in my house and I realize that a policeman goes into a media house to do XYZ to a media person, and the next moment I read that the state has decided to punish that particular state official for what he did, I will ask myself, if this is a policeman who went and did this, if this is a national security man who went and did this, and this is what they did to him, then if I make an attempt to go there, I may be in trouble. So sometimes our actions in itself can be a source of education for what they call it our people. So it must be first constant education. The NCCE should be able to see into those things. Political parties itself should be able to educate their people. But more importantly, party leaders and state institutions must show by example that we can be tolerant towards what they call it, the media. And that's all that
I see.
This one settles the matter.
Franklin,
I'm with you on this.
Yes, let them put it. The NCCE is issued a statement also condemning this, but beyond statement from the NCCE and all those relevant bodies condemning this, what must we be doing? Is it this falls squarely or mainly within the remit of the NCCE funding? What's it?
This has nothing to do with civic education. This is just dastardly acts that ought to be dealt with head on.
No, but tolerance. I mean, being tolerant of others' political views. It's part of the things.
We've been very tolerant, and I disagree with Mr. Bauer that it is an infant democracy. On the contrary, we've actually been democratic even before the colonialist came, right? And even when the colonialist came as well, there were elements of democracy at some point, right? Even though of course, some of those who decided to express themselves were calmly dealt with. The fact of the matter really is that thuggish behavior must be dealt with head on. These are matters for the security agencies to deal with. Anybody who does anything untoward must be arrested and prosecuted. That's all. This whole thing about calling on leaders to speak to them as if they are some children. No. We are not dealing with civics or class 1 to 5, 6 kids. No. These are persons who believe that they were acting in the best interest of their parties. I don't understand what that means. I mean, this is a show, for crying out loud. This is a show I've been watching since it started, by the way, this UTV show. And this whole call about bias and paneling, for me, was anathema. It was something strange to me because I've never experienced it on the show, right? So it was even, the concoction of the story to suggest that the paneling itself is biased is quite frankly an insult to some of us who watch that program. These persons must be dealt with as the police has done. Because you see, if we don't do these things, right, if we don't deal with them the way they should be dealt with, and we allow these to permeate, we are getting to another election. It's gonna get worse. Don't forget, these things translate into even security operatives killing people during elections, for several months after the elections, if not years. We've not heard anything from the state entity as well. Not even the president has spoken to the unfortunate killing of those persons who died during the election. Was it 2020, I think? And we've not heard anything. So we should not glorify these acts by suggesting that as if these persons don't know what they're actually about. They know why they went there. They know why they are engaged in such acts. Look at the guys who were vandalizing the NDC, what's it called, the materials at the NDC program, and then in the course of that, beating your own journalists. These are not kids. These are persons who know what they are about, and they know very well that they shouldn't be behaving those thuggish ways. So they must be dealt with by the law. And I commend the police if they act swiftly as they did with the UTV issue. That's what we should do.
So what should happen if the guys, for example, say they've regretted what happened, they apologize, and they approach UTV, for example, for settlement? You think UTV should look at that, or UTV should insist that the process continues to the end?
Well, expressing remorse is one thing, and I think that in life, people make mistakes and whatever. We have to examine whether they are first-time offenders, by the way. I mean, that's the only way we will look into this matter. And they must come on the show and render apology profusely and say that for the rest of their lives, the rest of their grandchildren's lives, they will not commit to doing things like that. Maybe that's the only time we would allow them. But let's not dignify these incidents by suggesting that persons who do these things do not know what they are about. They perfectly are aware. And so, yes, if they are remorseful, well, yes, but we should equally be punishing persons who do these kinds of things.
I see. So I'm wrapping up on this. I'm almost moving on but I just want a quick one from Dennis. I've not heard the boys apologize. I've only heard their elders apologizing on their behalf. Is there any plan to get them to apologize officially, or you think once the elders have apologized, that is fine?
Oh, I mean, I think that's why I commended the manner and way within which Richard and Kojo handled the matter. And since then, there's been a lot of engagement between the party and UTV. I mean, the General Secretary has been there. Beyond that, even the National Chairman and his team also met them. A lot of conversations have happened, all in the effort to ensure that these things are reduced. But of course, even in our Ghanaian setting, you know how we do it. Even when we're growing up, at all times, there must be a setting within which you'd have to apologize to the one you have offended. And for me, I think if that happens, that would also be good. It doesn't matter how, but however it is, these young people owe UTV and its viewers an apology and some remorse. And like I said, I've spoken with them. I'm very sure that based on the conversations that have gone on and the enlightenment that they've received, they would have handled this matter in a different way, in a more civil way, if it should come up again. So yeah, I'm completely with you on that. My advocacy is that we must do everything possible to ensure that a lot more Ghanaians understand what free speech means and become more tolerant towards free speech. If somebody is saying something that you disagree, allow the person. When you have your turn, you say what you have to say. That is a principle that I have mastered, and I think that we should be able to imbibe this in our people. We cannot toy with free speech. And so whatever we need to do to ensure that we enlighten people more, that should be done.
But do you share the same view?
Yeah, I do. And I just realized that a statement dated on the 14th of October, our National Communication Officer has issued a statement condemning the attack.
Oh, okay.
On your listen and apologizing.
Okay.
So,
but the regional office,
yes,
also did same yesterday.
Yes. So I just realized that they've done that. But you see, the interesting part of this thing that I realized was the banter between GJA and Kojo Ponkro. The GJA described Kojo Ponkro's statement as wobbling and pale. And they looked at it compared to other statements he had issued in the past and his actions in the past. You see, I think that what we should all be looking at is that when we are offering leadership, let it be said very clearly that if, for example, an NDC man has done something and I am supposed to comment on it, I should be fair and know that the only comparison will be with the law and nothing else. I think that going forward, look, we really need to do a lot of education. I think that as a country, we must also improve on our level of tolerance. We seem not to just be tolerant towards each other. You even sometimes see it on platforms, like when you're having discussions. People simply cannot even tolerate other people's views. And so we may have to also tend to exercise a bit of it in our actions, whether it is intra-party, inter-party, or what have you. This level of tolerance, because democracy in itself gives us the opportunity to have divergent views. And if we were all born to think the same way and act the same way, then I don't think God needed to have brought how many billions of people on the earth. I've just gotten 1%. All of us have our own thoughts, our own behavior. So I think that that's the way we should look at it. But more importantly, I think that the state and our party officials at the highest level should be seen to be doing more, because that is the only way we can. The only thing we have now is democracy. The only thing we can do is to improve upon it. And one of the tenets of democracy is free speech. That's why the Ashantis even call it they've described democracy as free speech. That's what they just described democracy. That's how they name democracy. So it is hinged on that. And so let's see how we can really improve upon those things. And as various political parties, try to stay away from such acts.
Very well. So this is a big issue. We're coming to you live on Citi TV, on Citi FM, we're on Facebook and YouTube as well. We'll be looking at the issue about media intolerance, whether the media is under siege. You've seen 2 incidents this week, one over the weekend and just one yesterday, against the media by the 2 major political parties, elements in those parties. And the conclusion really is that a lot more needs to be done. Those people must be punished, and we do not have to continue in this life. We don't have to encourage it, and we need to do more to ensure that these attacks and acts of intolerance are nipped in the bud. So we have a major topic, we have a major issue which we will deal with in respect of the corruption, government's battle against corruption, and what has happened this week. But before that, this week also has seen quite something unprecedented in the Akosombo area. The Akosombo Dam spillage has led to a lot of people being displaced. And the pictures and the videos we'll show you on the screen soon are so, terrible. And people even do not have places to, they do not have food to eat. NADMO is being called in, and they don't appear to be well equipped. And quite a number of things, are happening. We will quickly go to that area, speak to our guys on the ground to help us appreciate what has been happening so far. But Dennis, I know you have been following this. Just quick comments on this. The spillage of the Akosombo Dam. It appears this is one of the very first, and I can't for sure say this is the very first time it has happened. But typically, or usually, we know about Bagri Dam spillage and all the havoc it causes in the northern part of the country. Now, Akosombo Dam, the dam gets spilled. The people claim they did not know about it. I also wonder how it will be spilled without giving them information. Or maybe the information did not get to them adequately enough. And we've seen this serious issue. NADMO doesn't appear to be well equipped. And I saw yesterday that government is set up an interministerial committee chaired by the chief of staff to see what they can do about this. Your general thoughts on the Akosombo matter, or disaster, if I may call it?
Well, I think I'm very limited on that particular subject matter, especially because, it's an emergency that has come, a lot of things moving around. What I have seen is as much as you have seen with images and people trying to evacuate, and I've seen them, the districts involved have also had their emergency teams on the ground trying to help to resolve. But because they are in the middle of providing reliefs and support, they haven't been able to really put together anything for us to see and they understand the extent. Because, I spoke with some of the DCs in the past 3 days. Sojaman, Norton, Southern, they are almost about 6 or 7 districts within that enclave. Maybe what I think we will do is to wait for maybe between today and Monday when some aggregation of the issues are put together, and we would understand. Because I've also not seen much of information coming from the VRA.
Yes,
yeah,
and that's quite concerning.
Exactly on this matter as well. But like I said, I'm very, very limited when it comes to this emergency matter. And maybe when we have a lot more information, we should be able to speak to it. The interministerial committee has started working. They are putting interventions for the community and all of that, but it would be difficult for us to speak to it now until maybe we hear something from them and also hear from the municipalities and districts involved.
Very well.
Yeah, so obviously I empathize with what I call it, the victims of these floods, because basically it's so discomforting to realize that you have to be displaced because of water and other things. But I say, and again, VRA has no option than to spill. There's a maximum.
Okay, you are an energy person.
Yes, there's a maximum level that the dam can take it. When they delay in things like that, the repercussion is worse than we are seeing now. Because when you then have the integrity of the dam compromised, that is dangerous. And so VRA has no, what do you call it?
But was it not something VRA would have known?
No, so that's the point I'm just saying. So I'm just trying to say that spilling is nothing.
So you have some videos or pictures
particularly of at the time
how the communities around the dam actually looks like. And these are ordinarily dry lands.
Yes.
But the spillage is what is caused.
And particularly when you have a situation where, in fact, Bui had to also spill. So part of Bui, when Bui spills, it comes to Akosombo.
Okay.
Then Akosombo have to spill to go to the other side. The spills and goes. And so it appears all our hydro dams have all reached their limit, and therefore they need to spill. That being said, I remember in 2010 when we had this problem again. I remember when that happened. Then I was at the Ministry of Energy. Before the spillage was done, for about 2 weeks, we went through all the catchment areas in terms of the assemblies to warn them that these were the consequences and therefore they needed to relocate. I'm not too sure whether this was done or not. So that is the first thing. I'm not too sure. I don't have information as to whether they really want the various district assemblies to take note and ensure that all the people who are likely to be, affected, will be moved. Now, in your intro, you realize that you also indicated that you've not heard VRA make a statement.
Yes.
And I'm also very surprised about that. Particularly when, by law, we also have what we call the Volta River Authority Resettlement Fund. That is used for victims, when there was a relocation of the... So there's a fund that has been dedicated and is established by law that takes care of issues like this. So I'm not too sure how the VRA, and for that matter, the board of this particular fund, what they are doing with that. And so it's something the VRA will have to come to us to talk to us. But you know where the big problem is? You see, you said that NADMO seems to also not to be equipped enough to be able to do that. NADMO is not equipped, and that's the truth. You know that if you look at the source of funding of NADMO, part of it is supposed to come from what we call the District Assemblies Common Fund, the DACF. About 5% of it, of the DACF, is supposed to be sent to NADMO to fight emergencies like this. As I speak to you now, they are in arrears of about 3 years. Do you understand what I'm making? They are in arrears of about 3 years. And so they simply do not even have the money to really do that. Then the question you ask yourself, how come that for 3 years, and that will be how many quarters? That's 4 times 3. That's 12 quarters. That how come that for 12 quarters, the NADMO has not received, had releases from the District Assemblies Common Fund? It is because the District Assemblies Common Fund itself is not getting releases from the Ministry of Finance.
Even though by law they have a ring-fenced.
Yes, and you see, this is not money that you are supposed to go and look for. The law says that when you collect all our revenues and other things, you collect them. When you collect them, before you even start spending, X amount of money should be sent to the District Assemblies Common Fund to be used. So when they then get it, there's a sharing, there's an allocation, what they call formula that is being given, and there's a percentage that is given to NADMO to use in terms of fighting situations like this. But NADMO, as we speak now, do not have those funds because DACF is not giving them the money. And DACF is not giving them the money because the Ministry of Finance is also not releasing money to them. So that is, that's one aspect. Even to the extent, you know that, as we speak now, even sometimes DACF has to go and borrow money from commercial banks.
Really?
Borrow money. In fact, the latest was from Access Bank. Had to go and borrow money from commercial banks to be able to meet the requirements. And because of this whole issue of capping, the capping law that has come, the amount of money, even assuming that even
which counts is not enough.
Yes. So even apart from the district assembly, even the the NADMO, even the district assemblies, the amount of money that is brought to the one, they don't release it, and the amount of money they bring to them is not even enough to take care of sometimes even their internal issues. And so they are also not equipped enough to help their people because these are communities that fall under assemblies. And ordinarily, the assemblies would have also wanted to help. But they equally do not have money because there are no releases. And anytime even the release comes, the truth of the matter is that it's not even enough to take care of the activities of the assembly. So as time goes on, we'll get to know what. But I think that VRA may have to do more in terms of situations like this.
I think I'll have additional information if I can break for the
I'll come to Franklin and then we'll wrap up. So
I think let me
do a Zoom.
To be fair to...
Let me do a Zoom quickly. Okay. So after Zoom, I'll go to Franklin and then you conclude, right? Before we go to the next topic. So Fred Duho is in the area. Fred Duho is my colleague here at Citi FM. We sent them there to go see, or they've been there for a while now. Fred Duho, good morning. Welcome to the big issue. What has been the situation? You've been there for a couple of days now. How is the situation? Is the spillage ended? Are we still spilling? Is the situation getting better? The floodwaters, are they receding? What can you tell us?
So what I can report is that we went first to the phone station of the DRA, and over there, I can tell you that they have currently opened about 6 or 12 out of their total number of valves that they are supposed to open. And the fact remains that they are currently trying to control the spillage. They are trying to control the spillage. So in essence, the fact is that if they are supposed to open the whole valve as they have it now, the disaster is going to be more aggravated. We moved from the front side and we come to Akosombo to be precise. And that place, they also have about 12 valves. As of now, they've opened 8 of them and they are controlling it in a way. And we've now moved to a community that is closer to the Akosombo area. And these are crystal codes telling us that ever since the spillage started, they've lost almost every pond that they had on the river. in essence, they are fisher folks. They've done their own pond. They've invested. They pumped money into this whole thing, and they were not really costed ahead of time. By the time they could realize it was just a ding to the spillage, and the water came so quickly that they couldn't salvage any of their fishing stuff. So you see on the river, well, maybe this thing is broken out, so you cannot see really, but behind me, you see the distraction that has been caused to the fish pond that they usually have. We've seen their nets and everything, and the people are totally worried and devastated about the situation. I am drawing closer for you to see if you can still hear me, Solomon, for you to just appreciate the level of distraction. So you have a tree in the water there. So we are just right by the Delta River, and that is a tree that has fallen fish pond that these people have, and all the fingerlings they have has totally been washed away by this spillage. And some houses, we understand, have also collapsed along the banks of the river. So generally, the impact is still being felt here. I want to put on record that this is the eastern region. We are currently in the eastern region. So earlier on Thursday, we were actually in the three districts, actually, the Central Tongue, South Tongue, and the North Tongue. And Nefe, I can say, based on what we've seen, has been the hardest hit, where almost all the buildings that are along the banks of the river totally submerged in the river or in the water. So generally, what we've seen so far from Thursday, given this exclusive coverage that we've been bringing our viewers along this whole stretch, I can tell you that of the North Tongue situation and that of Central Tongue has been very dire. I can tell you that of South Tongue, which is Togakopet, most of the affected facilities are the hospitality facilities you see along the banks of the river. Talk of the Holy Trinity Spa, talk of the Togakopet Beach Resort, talk of the Cincinnati, and almost all of those hospitality facilities you see are totally affected. Now, on the eastern region side, we understand Africa has also been, portions of it has also been submerged in water. So, generally, the situation is dire, and the people, their livelihood have been taken away, and they are looking forward to the government agencies in charge, like NAGMO and even the state, to come to their aid. I can also add again that, we went to the Delta River Authority, to be precise, so we were trying to gain access to the facility, and we were actually denied. But what we were told over there is that they are going to store more water in the coming hours or even days. And the committee that was formed or put together by the president, sent by the chief of staff, the Honorable Prima Opare, we understand they were in some meeting earlier, so we couldn't speak to the directors of DRA who could grant us permission to gain access to their facility. So generally, I would say on the part of the committee, they also started their sitting from what we've gathered, and the folks that are affected, they are also generally coping or managing to cope with the situation as it stands now. And those hardly, they are also relocating to higher ground.
Very well. I'm grateful for your time. Thanks so much for speaking to us. Very bad situation we have up there. The pictures you are seeing are not very palatable. We hope that you take care of yourselves well and bring us the best pictures and reports as always, so our listeners and viewers can know what really is happening. Thanks so much, Fred Duho and the team, for speaking to us from the Akosombo Volta region enclave, for the city and the eastern region, that part of town. Thank you so much. So Fred, Franklin, quickly, this is a very terrible situation, but as Bauer rightly said, it's important, it's necessary that it happens. Maybe the information to the people and a few other things maybe could have been better, but it's a necessary exercise that had to be done nonetheless.
Oh, without a doubt. And my heart goes out to all those who have been affected. As I understand, there was some level of information, and indeed, I'm sure that probably it wasn't it wasn't detailed enough, because I think I heard one of the DCs suggest that well, they didn't have enough resources to be able to go to every necessary town to at least tell them exactly what had happened. And I was a bit sad that, I mean, that really should be happening. Otherwise, it's rather unfortunate, and I think that resources should be given to the authorities to ensure that next time these things do not happen. Maybe we should have a long resettlement plan as well, because as increased weather changes, climate change and all of that, I think these things will become the norm rather than rather than out of the ordinary.
Very well. Thanks so much, Franklin. Dennis had a quick update.
I just got some additional information I thought we should share, especially with the VRA. So like Franklin said, the VRA actually weeks before now had embarked on it. And they seem to have, because according to what they've sent me, they have an emergency preparedness plan, which they actually implement with the communities. And they've been doing that. I read here almost about 6 different releases that they've done in the period. And according to some of the DCs also, VRA released resources for them to be engaging the communities sort of there. But if you look at the situation there, it looks as if it's almost unavoidable for some of them, because looking at the level of sensitization and what, you can't move your fish pond in 2 weeks, you can't move your house. Some of them, the houses are covered and all. It's a very difficult situation, and my heart really goes out to them. What I think should be done, especially from the VRA, is that they really utilize the fund that they have to support members of this community. I know that in that enclave, some of them have in the past been relocated. If you look at where some of the dam covers, there were communities and people living there, and they were relocated. Some also feel very attached to some of these areas that relocating is a difficulty for them. But I really think that VRA should really invest in relieving some of these victims, because it's a very difficult situation. If you look at the water level, some are almost covering the windows and all of that, and it's covering a very large portion of the area. But to be fair to VRA, they have evidence to show that they've been engaging them over the period.
But Salam, just 2 things. When Franklin was speaking, that he had an assembly,
an officer or DC?
No, a DCE say that they were told, but they didn't also have the resources to go down. It underscores the point.
So there's your resources.
But I think the other point that we need to look at is that, say, if you look at the Palugu hydro project that was being envisaged, the studies have been done. Part of it was to forestall problems like this, because then it contains most of this water is coming from the Bagre, because that's where the water source is, from the north, and so they would have dammed most of these things to be used for more useful things like hydro for agric and what have you. But since 2018, when there was this whole big ceremony. In fact, if you are going to Bolga, the only thing that has been done in that particular project is a sandboard that has been put at the junction that goes to the project site, and the one that has been put on your way to RCC. Apart from these 2 things, nothing has been done. Meanwhile, it was actually even listed as one of the achievements of the government when they published their achievement, when they did the project tracking and what have you. So sometimes when we agree to do certain things, let's do them. And you see, the Palugu project was not just conceived under this government. It had been sponsored, the feasibility study and everything had been done by the World Bank, financed by the World Bank between 2014 and 2016, that the studies had been done. And therefore, there was not the need to really do the construction based on the effects and what have you.
I see.
The only thing that we got was signboards.
I see. Yeah. I mean, I think it's suffering from the general economic crunch and all of that, which we understand is global. So, all right. So
no, it's not global.
All right.
This is
global. Okay. This is the big issue. We will take a short break. When we return, we get to the discussion on the government's battle against corruption. Look at the various facets of that. Martin Kpebu joins the panel. And so Edward Bowles will be here, Franklin Kujo, as always, Dennis Abwaji, Miracles will also be here. We'll be right back after the short break. All right, you're welcome back to the program. This is a big issue. A number of your messages have come through. This one from Jones Adoboinla says, "Good morning, Salam. Attacks on journalists everywhere must be condemned in all certain terms. When you have a president who tend to clear or protect party members in a clear corruption case, and even so that committee was set up, what did we see? I want to sympathize with my people along the voter league. Ghanaians are not angry enough." Okay, Jones. All right. Yesuvi says, "What the VRA is doing now is never a controlled spillage. As of now, houses are covered with water, cemeteries are flooded, schools are submerged in water, public toilets are now ponds, and a whole lot of things happening in the 3 Tong districts. Why the delay in doing the spillage? Why wait for the dam to fill up to about 100% before you to full valve opening?" I think you want to say before the valve is open, something like that. Yesuvi clearly appears to understand what is happening in the area. We understand there's some committee doing some work, and some resolution will come. But indeed, as my guests have explained, it is a necessary evil, and we'll see. All right, so let's move on to the next matter. We're looking at a government's battle against corruption. A lot is happening this week. Ato Essien has been jailed. AG's report on reform battle came out. I don't know whether it was leaked or released, I'm not sure. And the OSP is running battle with Cecilia Adapa. The OSP wants Cecilia Adapa, the judge on the matter, removed. His petition, the CJ will have to decide whether indeed the allegations of prejudice are well founded. If so, yes, maybe the judge will be removed. If not, the judge will continue his work. My guest for this segment, Martin Pebu, private legal practitioner, joined the panel. Then is Miracles Abuaji, presidential staffer, Franklin Kujo, president of Money Africa, and Edward Bauer, member of parliament for Boku Central on the NDC.
Is Bongo?
Sorry, Bongo. Bongo Central. On the ticket of the NDC, not panel for Bongo. Apologies. All right, so Martin, I'll start with you. It's been a very heavy week for matters around corruption. I don't know whether it is positive that we keep talking about corruption. I don't know what it means for the perception of corruption, etc. But some activities happened this week. Let's start off with the OSP. There was supposed to be an application to abridge time, which was actually heard and granted. And the main application itself could not be heard because the OSP wrote to the CJ or petitioned the CJ to remove the judge from the matter. Tell us, is it strange to have the time abridged for applications like citing reasons or hardship, etc., as the Sinadapa team did? And is it also strange to have a party write to the CJ to remove a judge from the matter? And under what circumstances can we see this?
Okay, so answer to both questions, no. It's not strange at all to have the time for hearing an application being abridged, and it's also not strange for lawyers to petition the Chief Justice to remove a judge from a matter. No, these are things that happen very often in our courts, all right? And also your preliminary comment that this is a week heavy on corruption. Yes, I agree. So I'll start from that side and come to the substantive. It's good we keep talking. Yes, because a problem well diagnosed is half solved. So if we don't talk, we are not likely to get the best solutions. So we have to keep talking. In actual fact, we are not talking enough at all. We are not talking enough.
Corruption.
Yeah. Yeah, we are not talking enough about corruption because corruption is actually swallowing us up. It's all over the place. So we need to ratchet up the conversation, make corruption front and center of all our public discourse. We are not talking enough. Because the thing is going on unbridled. As far as I'm aware, the last certain report I saw of different people have different accounts. Somebody said about 80% of the contracts that have been awarded so far under this regime fall under sole sourcing or single source procurement. It's like, wow, I'll get time to verify. But at least we all accept that sole sourcing or single source procurement is still a huge problem. Okay, feeding in corruption. Gabi, when these guys were in opposition, said sole sourcing is thievery. Sole sourcing is thievery under the Mahama administration. So we expected that when they came, they would reduce it. Number two, earlier in the week, we had a big conversation about asset declaration.
Yeah.
You know, the Human Rights and Governance Center, they are trying to push so that under the new bill, every public officer will publish his assets. When the assets have been declared, they will be published. Of course, we are asking for online, like be done in a website so that the cost can come down, all those things, right? So these are some of the things. And then Madam Cicely Dapa's matter. We have to keep talking. We are not talking enough at all because corruption is so rife. Look, just, we will not mention names, but just 3 days ago or so, or in the last 1 week, I heard another senior presidential staffer, over $1 million was stolen from his home. People are trying to keep it quiet, but we have to talk. Listen, in a democracy, some people have to talk, and even sometimes unjustifiably pay the price. But that is it. Yeah, a very senior staffer is close to $2 million. Was just stolen from his home. It's like, wow. So you see why we keep repeating that. Let's search this and the officers at the presidency. Let's search the ministers. Let's search them.
We should search their
Yes,
homes.
we've made a report. So by sitting down here and reporting that we hear they have monies in their homes, that's a report.
But
it's
how will you
sufficient
say?
for the
If you want,
OSP.
they will clear their homes of the monies.
Oh, look at Madam Dapa. Do you see the time between the report of the case and the time OSP?
So there was nowhere to put the money, or the money was too much.
Exactly.
The monies are huge.
They are huge. And we are just playing. We are just playing, okay? And playing ostrich. The monies are in their homes. Dennis, your people, monies are in their homes. Listen, if we don't do this, we are not fighting corruption. If we don't search all the ministers, forget it. We are just playing. The monies are in their homes. And we sitting here, I'm saying that this is a report, this complaint. You see, earlier on, I've been talking about this minister who has 4 houses back to back, contiguous in East Legon. Yeah, some radio stations have started talking about it. Giddy, 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 giddy. Very soon, his name will be put out. Who push back? Who push back? Listen, we have to fight. We are men. If you can't fight like a man, forget it. Forget it. Look, Socrates said it. This is in Plato's book, The Republic. There is no honest politician. There is no honest politician. So
I'm not sure that the politicians flanking you
but it's a reality. You see, he said it. To every rule, you may get an exception. But the main rule, so what I'm saying is that we don't have the right mindset for fighting corruption. We sit down, the larger majority of our people, because they don't have access to much information and all that, they say, oh, but he's a big man. He was doing this business, that. And so if he's holding anything, it's from business. Yeah, I remember the last time I came here, or the last before I came here, I met one of the panelists here. Then he started to tell me that, oh, he had this business. I said, Massa, I remember you in 2016. You hardly had a job. I met you somewhere. You were begging for a job. Right now, no, you're driving a big car. Yeah, one of the panelists here. I said, don't do that. Don't tell me this. Tell that to the Marines. So the thing is that we must search the ministers. If we are not searching the ministers, forget about this fight.
But this search, I wonder how it will
one
be.
by one, we'll line them. One by one.
But wouldn't that be populist and too revolutionary?
But you need a revolution to fight corruption. That is the statement. That is it. You need.
So we line them up today. Minister for Finance, let's go to your house. Let's go and search.
No,
Tomorrow, Minister for Education.
We'll search on weekday. We just line them. Then OSP will rope in the police. So we just swoop all on one day. So IG can do that. IG, of course, he's had problems recently, but I still support him, notwithstanding criticizing him. I beg, just one comment passing. The Bugri Nabu tape and all those. I want IG to stay, except that I want to make him more accountable. He can do the job. Nobody is perfect. So if you rope in IG, police force, there over 40,000. How many are the ministers? It's not 80-something. And then the presidential staffers. And so the presidential staffers, their numbers are, even if I know, Dennis has a problem with us when we mention 1,000.
It's 1,000 something.
Yeah, but he has a certain calibration. He says, yes, he has some. So you let's
don't have to do that. You know that.
It's all right. Let's not split it.
Let's not split. There's only, you see, by law.
But there are people who are seconded. There are people who are seconded.
It was 999.
It's not.
So what was the number?
Yes.
It's 44.
Oh, 44?
Yeah, no, we're not talking about. We need everybody in the building.
Everybody in the bank is a banker.
But we have people who are seconded.
Everybody in the bank is a banker.
That's the one. I thought you were going to raise that one.
I didn't want to interview. But
no, I want you to come in.
For the sake, okay, let me come in.
No, but he said you have your own calibration. Yeah.
For the sake, it's not my own calibration. That is the fact. Presidential staffers are 44. You have civil servants that goes in excess of 600 at the presidency. Okay, they are not presidential staffers.
Yes.
And then, indeed, there are political appointees who are also not presidential staffers.
Okay.
In the presidential, please relax. We are educated. In the presidential act, the act that establishes the office, it has categories of employees. We have presidential staffers, we have other political appointees, then we have the civil servants. Other political appointees are about 300. Civil servants are over 600. Presidential staffers out of the 300 are 44. Fact. You can do your sentimental conversation, but these are the facts.
Okay. But I think he did admit that there was.
No, but it is sentimental, not truth.
No, but to be fair to him, he said when he was.
But you know I have a problem. I've stated the fact to you before. Why do you?
No, but he didn't remember the number. That's why.
He
didn't remember the number. So and then you've clarified.
No, but if I want to understand that, so you have drawn a line between presidential staffers and political appointees.
No, I haven't drawn a line. It's the law.
But that's what you.
So there's presidential appointees.
Yeah,
and there are presidential staffers.
And the list that you say is presented to Parliament. That's how it's presented.
Yeah.
So there are appointees and staffers.
Yes. So Salom, we are speaking online.
No, you're not doing one. Your man said that you are coming to educate. So
no, it's not. But you're also educating. So I also.
But give me facts. So you can't put out falsehood and say.
Okay, that's why I'm gone. For us, no, it's okay.
I mean, it's a discussion, so that's fine.
It's good so that you bring your perspective. For us, all die be die. You see the list, and I.
It's not true. All die is
but the point is, there are civil servants who have just been seconded, so they cannot be part.
No,
maybe wait. The presidential, the government appointees.
The power there.
The appointees.
We want all of them. So what is the difference between a staffer and an appointee?
Let me explain to you.
So maybe a staffer has
no. Let me explain to you the difference. It's not the names.
I can understand the civil servants.
It's the power. It's the
appointees.
So what are you educating?
So what's the difference between a staffer and an appointee?
It's not relevant.
So what's the difference?
If you go into a bank and you have a security man at the bank, he's part of the bank. So is he a banker?
He's not.
Is there no difference between him and the branch?
Staffers and what's the difference?
No. I'm just giving you an example.
So tell us what
the parks and garden staff who are part of the 1,000 or the 900.
They are the civil service. They are the civil service.
So what are you talking about?
Yeah, so the civil service I can understand.
Yes.
But the government appointees.
The IT technician. The IT technician who is taking home about 2,300.
No, we're not talking about the salary. Let's
no, but what are you talking about?
So the IT guy, for example, he will be a government appointee.
Yes, but he's not a presidential staffer.
Okay, that's fine.
But the facts to be established is that there are no 1,000 presidential staffers.
That's fine, but there are 1,000 people who work there.
Yes. So Salom, I'm happy you brought it, so I'll still make my point. So those who want the technical thing, they'll go with him. Those who want to be practical, like
no, you cannot be practical.
So wait, he will say that 1,000 people work there.
Yes,
so that's fine. No, they are not staffers.
That's the point.
Nowadays, it's been like that since first time.
No problem.
No, it's not been 1,000.
It's always here.
It's not been 1,000.
The job is grown bigger.
No.
The job is grown bigger.
Now it's even less than it was.
No problem. Martin, just make your point.
The problem is that you speak without facts and you just want to I am telling you how the data. If you give it, I'll share. That's why you don't want to.
When I come to you, share it.
The data shows that even this year, it is lesser than it was under the tenor.
No problem.
So what you're saying is not true.
No, so then share that with us.
It is here. Means on top of the data is here.
When we get to you. All right. So Martin, go ahead.
Yes.
I don't want to come in.
No, if you will call it, then it's me. Don't worry. The nature of my work.
Don't deliberately put out false for me.
No.
Yes. So
that's the work we do, so I don't have a problem at all when you correct me. That's how long it is. We always say we are always learning. So for us, 1,000 people are working there. A lot of them are exercising a lot of power. Let me tell you. Let me just give a practical example out there. You remember last year when Manasseh did the case about the corruption around the CCSP, the computerization of the SS slots, the placement of in our kids in the SS, the schools. It was a watchman, right? Underlings. You pay through there. So when you say somebody is what I don't want to mention any specific job type, what does he do? You don't understand. Corruption. Sometimes you think the big man, just you don't know him, and then you come into his office, you want to give him money, he won't take. So sometimes, yes, and I'm speaking. That's why I give you a specific. That's why I'm giving a specific example.
You can give your comment, but when you're referring to a factual matter, be factual. That's what I'm saying.
So I gave you the specific example. There are more examples of institutions where we know. We just haven't come to them. You want to bribe the big man. He's not taking that money. It's a watchman or a driver. You'll be shocked. You see somebody walking around very slim and looking innocent. If you don't see him, it won't work. So please, don't, if anybody tells you that somebody is just so and so officer, he doesn't will so much, but it's a lie. If you know the grounds, watch even rather the watchmen, the underlings, they are the conduit. So that's a preliminary. Now let's come. So your second, we have to do an introduction.
Yes, so that's
the second one is the application.
Yes. So what does the CJ look at in matters like this to change a judge or say no, there's no case of prejudice or bias made against the judge?
So one word, the
evidence. So how good is the evidence? How good it is? You know, in recent times, but that particular matter, they've gone up in terms of they've increased the bar, and that's what I'm looking for, in terms of the threshold, in terms of the evidence that you need to take a judge off. At least I can remember, I've done at least 16 years. Those days, easy. Any small thing, even sexual, they used to grant. We all got sexual, easy. You want to prohibit a judge, it was relatively easy. Now, you go and sit in the Supreme Court, what? Even some applications that you think, if I was a judge, I would grant. By the time they finish, they say dismiss. So in practice, you ask lawyers, they can tell that now the bar is very high. So the thing is about evidence. So they don't lightly do it. But applications are constantly being made. But let's make this point. The difference is that OSP has not sent an application to the Supreme Court. It's not an application to the Supreme Court. This is a letter to the a letter of petition to the CJ. And I like it. I like it because at least they are giving the CJ to look at it in a confidential manner. Yeah, it's better. Let's give that first opportunity. If it doesn't work, then it's up to the OSP to say, okay, look, I want to escalate. I want to go in open court. If the CJ alone looked at it and doesn't think so, I want to go to open court where 5 judges. On normal such applications, you have 5 judges on it. So that 5 minds will look at it and see whether the grounds that the OSP is raised are tenable, are sufficient to take the judge off. So it's good. Look, it's very, very normal. Lawyers file such applications all the time. But like I've said, in recent times, very few succeed. Most of them are thrown off. Then the second part of your question.
There were two parts. The application to abridge, whether it was unusual, you said it wasn't.
Yes. So
the petition to remove the judge, you said it's also not unusual.
Yes. But let's explain the.
Yeah. We have a number of things.
Okay.
The point really is, a lot of people haven't seen enough grounds, made by the OSP to make him want to have the judge removed. It appeared they've just appeared before the judge once or twice. The first one or second one was the abridgment of term application he granted. And the point really is, the matter was to be heard, I think, the following week. And the woman says that all her accounts have been frozen. She's suffering. She cannot do anything. So she will want the application to be brought forward so it could be heard, so everybody knows their level. That is not so difficult to appreciate that the judge will grant. So I'm not sure how the office of I don't know the content of the letter he's written to the CJ, but I'm just not sure what really he has against the man to warrant his removal.
Good. So we all don't have the letter to the CJ, and that's very commendable. Like I said, it's good that they handle it in a confidential manner at this first instance. Okay. So we can only look at the trajectory, look at the past, the history of the case, and try to guess some of the grounds. So this is an analysis. Yes, we are not saying by all means we've looked at the Senate, but we can raise some. So this is a application that was granted. The thrust of it was to say that for her, she was suffering. She was suffering, so they should hear the application quickly. So when she says she was suffering, and the judge haven't granted the application on the basis that she was suffering, then it raises grounds that, the judge believes in her case, that she's really suffering. So any reasonable prosecutor will be spooked by such a case. Because if you say you are suffering, under the law, that's Section 40, it says that when such a matter happens and you are suffering, go to the court. When the application is being heard, you should be given reasonable provision to alleviate your suffering. Giving reasonable provision. But when you come and say, listen, I'm suffering, so I want all my money back, it's a different kettle of fish. So look at Section 40, subsection 4. It says, a freezing order under this section may be made subject to the conditions that the court considers appropriate, and without limiting the scope of the order, provide for A, the reasonable living expenses of a person affected by the freezing order, including the reasonable living expenses of the dependents of the person and reasonable business expenses of the person. Then you go to B, if there's a debt, etc. So, Madam Dapa didn't choose to say, I want to be given reasonable provision to survive. No, she said, no, I want all of my money back. And so if it's the what do you call it? The abridgment means cutting short. Instead of, so the motion would have been heard. When we say motion, the papers, the case would have been heard on Monday. Then they bring it forward. So the judge was willing to hear it on Thursday. So they went to court on Wednesday, and the judge wanted to hear. So Wednesday was what? 11th, and then Thursday 12th. Is that correct?
Yes.
Is that so? Yeah. So they went.
But today is 14th.
Very good. So they went to court on Wednesday 11th, and the judge was willing to hear the application. Yes, on Thursday, and that same Thursday they were even going to take her plea for the failure to provide OSP with the information, and OSP went with the letter to the CJ, and then also went to court to deliver a copy to him. And it's good the judge didn't make a fuss of it. The OSP officers went, they didn't rope, and they delivered the letter to the judge, and then he agreed and adjourned. So it's good. Let the CJ go into it, because any reasonable prosecutor will be spooked. Why would you go for all of the money when the law says that, they should give you a reasonable provision to survive? Is there Section 40, subsection 4 of the Act 959?
I see.
You say. So that's one. So we are trying to distill the grounds, what they are. We have seen the letter. Then number two, the ruling that Justice Chum gave, the earlier one, or the judgment, the first one, when the one OSP lost, there were parts of it that were very harsh. He said they hadn't done any investigations, and so it was just the media frenzy, those things. That was very harsh, extremely harsh. We shouldn't lightly use such words in a judgment. No, it's different. What we come here to sit and do is a different kettle of fish. This one, you read, every lawyer will tell you, go to law school, is basic. New York Times versus Sullivan tells you that public debate like this must be caustic, robust, and candid. So here, what we do is different from court. In a judgment, when you write such harsh language, anybody will get spooked. Why? Is it? Then it gets too personal. A judgment is different from coming here. It's a different kettle of fish. They'll tell you, New York Times versus Sullivan, and we have quoted it in some of our cases in Ghana, so we have proved it. Public discourse. I'm remembering Professor Kumado, wherever he is, God bless him. I tell you, New York Times versus Sullivan, public discourse, caustic, robust, candid. So that one will tell you anyhow, because politicians have very thick skin. Honorable Bao will admit they are very tough skin. So if you come here and talk in very lame terms, very banal, no, they say, you don't have the balls for it. So here you ratchet it up, then they see that you are also up to their game. So they better calm down so that we do it the right way for Ghana to develop, but not in a judgment.
Very well. Franklin, let me come to you. Civil society has been watching this. I don't know what your thinking is generally around how the parties are conducting the case, the Cicely Adabha case. Now, the OSP wants the judge removed from the matter because of what they say is prejudice against the person of the SP and the OSP itself.
Well, these are legal matters, and I would rather leave the lawyers to deal with it. But as it is, as it borders on corruption, I think the government doesn't want to be hearing a lot more of these incidents anyway. And to hear Martin suggest that there are more such things in the pipeline is quite worrying, really. On the substantive matter, though, I think the OSP is doing his work. He should be allowed. I don't think anybody should put any barriers in his stride. And if he does a good job, it helps the government as well. Don't forget, if he manages to get some of that money, it goes back to the state, really. So I don't think he's doing this for his personal gain, really. And so we don't support him.
I see. Dennis, what's your thinking around the happenings of this week? Okay, so what's your thinking around this happenings in this week as far as the OSP and the Cicely Adabha matter is concerned?
Sometimes we need to control Mr. Martin Kwebu on the way he goes about his commentary. And he knows it, and I keep telling him. You can make commentary, but when you want to speak to issues, especially because when he sat here, you said, he's coming to educate us. We should be a bit, how can you go and search people's homes? Should we go and search all politicians' homes?
I mean, that's a viewpoint.
Yes,
That's a view.
Yes, but you're a lawyer, and you ask him an important question. He refused to answer. For him, he said, "Oh, but let's do it anyhow." Should we go and inspect Honorable Bawe's home?
They said ministers.
Why? Why is he not a public?
And the CEOs of
I
don't control funds.
No, he's not a public.
No, but he of course he's an MP. Yeah. But an MP is very different from
a
minister because they control quite some money.
And the CEOs of
the state gives him money to utilize.
Unfortunately, it is also administered by the district.
Yeah, but you take the decisions by which minister signs a check in Ghana?
No, but the point we're making is that they control quite some resources.
But he controls funds and he's telling you that he doesn't.
Okay, so maybe you can say that. Let's expand it to include MPs.
No, that's what I'm saying. But it doesn't make sense.
No, but you can say that.
It doesn't make sense.
You can say that.
It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense for anybody to sit on TV and say that homes of citizens of the state by virtue of serving in whatever capacity should be searched without recourse with recourse to which law? When you say that, at least say something, make a point, back it with a certain law. Yeah. What are you doing? And then you also put a falsehood. You don't ask him to give you any evidence. He just says it and say, "Oh, there's a presidential staffer that 1 million." The next time you say $2 million, it's a lie. There is no presidential staffer whose $1 million has been stolen. That's a complete falsehood.
But
he's a lawyer.
The lady who was robbed and money retained. That was just a few days after Sicily. Or you know that. We don't want us to be mentioning names on air.
No, you see, she was robbed.
It was published.
Yes. Honorable, don't do this yourself. You have made reference to a particular specific matter.
No, but
it is a lie. I am telling you that no presidential staffer's $1 million is missing. You should mention the name.
That's fine.
It's a lie. It's a complete falsehood.
But that's one thing.
Otherwise,
I've already told you that I'm not using presidential staffer technical. I said somebody who works in the
mention anybody who works at the presidency whose $1 million is missing. It's a lie.
It's almost $2 million.
It is not true. It's a falsehood. But as part of no. He said it, so allow me to also deal with it.
Sure,
as part of his commentary, he said it, so let me deal with it. Because what he has said is a complete falsehood. But it's a deliberate lie that he puts out there to plant it in the minds of your viewers and listen, and then he goes home. Nobody holds him up to it, and then he positions himself as this sanctimonious citizen who is fighting for the sanctity of Ghana and is without. Meanwhile, a court has actually found you guilty of thievery.
Yes, have you read the judgment?
Perfect. Let me come to this. You see the way when I said it. You see his reaction. It's deliberate. Yes, it's deliberate.
Oh, I caught you. I just caught you. You haven't said
the judge has found you to be a thief. That's the truth.
That's not true. I know that.
What did the judge say? What did the judge say?
The judge says that.
Can I move on? Can I go back? The judge said that somebody's book that is co-written with you, you said the book is only yours because you are popular and smart. Hey, what does it mean?
But you
see the way when I put out that issue, I said no, it doesn't say verbatim.
No, because I know what it is.
But you hear him make such reckless comments, reckless descriptions of politicians without referencing him.
No, he said, and we know that there are times matters come up. You can't just put out a name.
Yeah.
But if you know the process.
If a minister of state owns 3 houses at East Legon, does it make him a thief? Does it warrant him to be searched?
No, but if we look at what the minister earns and we look at the minister's legitimate sources.
So do you know the minister's legitimate sources?
So that raises questions.
Exactly. So if a judge says that you wrote a book with somebody and you try to push the person out there, my description is that you are stealing the person's book.
Oh.
But you see the way you're uncomfortable.
No, that's a stretch.
Exactly.
That's a stretch.
That is the same bounds within which our commentary should be based on. It is reckless. It is irresponsible for you to sit on TV and make a blanket falsehood that there is somebody that's working at the president whose $1 million is missing, and I don't want to. It's a lie.
1.8 million.
But it's a lie.
Okay.
But that is a lie. That is not a lie.
It's a complete falsehood. I'll tell you.
Don't step out. Mention it here because you didn't step out because putting it out.
No, but I didn't mention any. But that's fine.
We can't continue to run.
But Hamida's money.
I beg you. So why it wasn't $1 million?
Hamida was wrong.
Is it Hamida? You should mention.
No, Hamida was 1.8 million. Hamida was wrong.
Let's make progress.
In her house, you had 114,000.
robbed dollars.
I have been robbed. So what? So what? So it makes her a thief.
No, sorry. Let's
I didn't say that. You belong to a political party that is asking to come to power.
Yes.
If you become to power for whatever reason,
you are asking for the name.
No, I understand that.
I'm giving you an example.
No, but that is not what he is referring to. He made an emphatic
specific statement. $1.8 million, and I'll say it.
You understand? So don't tweak it. That's not what he's referring to. He made an emphatic statement.
Yeah, and
I'll give you the name after this.
That point has been made. So I want
point has been made.
No, I mean your disagreement with how you made it is
again. You see, all these things are part of this. All these.
Yes. The money, the politics.
Which one?
There is no money in any politics. It's a lie. These are all things that you see. These are things that you do.
Don't get distracted.
No, I won't. I will stick to it. That's why you start to. If it changes, I'll change it. But
I'm saying that don't get distracted.
My job is to expose the falsehood. Otherwise, you should mention the names. So I sit here and I say, oh, there's an NDC MP whose $3 million was missing. Then I just go home. What kind of democracy are we building? And that is the responsibility that I spoke earlier about the media and the free speech. That as I sit here, I can just make a blanket, deliberate falsehood like he has done. That an NDC MP's $10 million is missing. Then all the 137 MPs are now going to be looked in a certain light. Whether what I said is true or not, I just say it and I go home. Is that how we want to build our democracy? So if he does it wrong, we should tell him. And that's what I'm trying to point him out. That he's lying.
I'm not lying.
Very well. So that point is made.
Now, on the, and again, he continues to peddle all these lies when he gets into that mood. This issue of presidential staffers, they are 1,000, is a lie.
Yeah, that you corrected. 44 and some 300.
The fact is that at every point in time, there are over 70% of the people who work at the presidency. And even that list of 900 that you see, they all don't work at the office of the president. Maslock staff, Ghana Ace Commission staff, National Education Authority staff, Public Services Commission staff, all these institutions have their staff names in there. National Entrepreneur and Innovation Program, all these institutions are all part. I think that when we have the opportunity to speak, we have a responsibility to make sure that our viewers are also learning something and not necessarily try to put out falsehood just to advance our political cause.
Very well.
Oh, I don't think this is fair. That's why I brought you in. You think I don't know? Yes. I said
I think that point is settled.
So always acknowledge it. You see, says on the issue, I believe, because that is not the major topic that we are discussing. Just by for information. You see, when you have a situation where the total amount of money voted for your salaries for presidential staffers moves from 136 million in 1 year to 823 million. There are two things. Either you have increased your numbers or you are giving people unreasonable salaries. It's still all a burden on the taxpayer. So these are facts, and I am not the one stated. It's stated in the budget, and these are facts that we can always verify.
The fact is that the numbers have been increased.
Very well.
So that's a fact. So don't speculate. Don't leave it in there.
You had indicated that the numbers are not increasing.
No, I'm just telling you that. Don't leave it there. Don't say it as if you've put something out there that we don't have an answer to. The numbers of presidential staffers are known. Their salaries are known. Speak to it.
I don't know. If you know it, say it.
I do know that figure. Has it given you?
No, it said 136 million.
So and that moved to 823.
Why? So it could be salary increment. Does that mean that the
numbers are
that
way? He said that either the number has increased or they are taking on.
But we are not talking about. We are talking about a specific. You see, when people.
No, but he said no.
He put out a specific falsehood. That's what we are talking about.
But we've moved on from there. He is saying that. It's not even part of the discussion, but he just threw it.
So he's doing something else.
Because it's relevant.
No, that's all I'm talking about. I'm talking about a specific lie.
Let's make
specific lie. I have to proceed my argument.
So don't let me lie.
Let me. What I said was, for me, the total number, all die be die. Once they are working,
no, but then it's to be fair to him. He said after he said it, he deferred to you, and then you made a point about 44 and 300 and civil servants,
which is a fact.
Yes, which is a fact. No problem. And he says that for him, everybody working there, so there's people who work at the presidency.
I'm telling you that even the Nana is mentioning, not all of them work at the presidency.
Yes, so no, that's what he
has. So he doesn't make it. He's so lied.
Presidency.
That's what.
That's the issues he put that were false.
But if the office of the Ace Commission's office is under the office of the president.
Let me tell you.
But they are somewhere else. They are captured under the office of the president.
Let me tell you something. You see, when somebody is deliberately misinforming the public,
stop this
and you establish it, you speak to it. You don't give the person room to weed around it. The gentleman started by saying that there are 1,000 presidential staffers. That was a specific statement to me.
And then he
came in. But this is not the first time I'm correcting him. He doesn't know. How did he know? How did he know that I know? Because this is not the first time I'm correcting him from this.
No problem. All right, so you lied. We have had a few things to do with.
You see, my point is this. When you made false statements, you say don't get here.
You lied.
When you lied,
I apologize. But you won't. Because you don't accept that you lied.
Then it's okay. Right. I'm sure you have a fine from somewhere.
I can understand, Dennis, in that this government has been troubled with issues of corruption to an extent that when you are even defending it, it becomes difficult. But of course, you have on day 1, 7th January 2017, was the first day that the corruption started, when the president decided to plagiarize somebody's speech. That's a sign of corruption, stealing somebody's ideas. So that's a sign of corruption.
But the people is corrupt. It's still somebody's idea. The court has
right.
Now, then you have situations where we have had stories that have not been resolved. The issue of post. You remember the up to now. It was something I personally followed. That has not been done. The issue of the conflict of interest and transparency on the 2.25 billion bonds that were raised, to the extent that the minority had even petitioned the U.S.
Yes.
The issue of the 800,000 websites on this Ministry for Special Initiatives, if you recall.
But they said it was a typo.
Oh, what was the typo?
Was it expended?
Because we didn't approve it. Because we didn't approve it. And of course,
so it didn't go through. Yeah. So it didn't go against the So that's why you are there to be the eyes of the people.
The fact that I come to these studios and pick your laptop, and then finally you are able to take the laptop from me.
You didn't intend to take it. I see.
So that is the point. So basically, this government has had challenges with corruption. Now, to the Cecilia Dapa's case in particular, you see, I see that particular issue as a tragedy to Ghana, because we are talking about a situation where the government is asking all Ghanaians to tighten their belt because of economic challenges. A situation where your own studios here talked about people, about only 7% of people can access dialysis, even though you have all these people who are sick. Situations where even SSS, secondary schools, the quality of food they give to them is terrible. To the extent that you have the CHAS, that is the Conference of Heads of SS secondary schools, coming out to say that now give us the opportunity to procure our own food. And of course, that one, just to even tell you, the very reason why they took the procurement from the headmasters and centralized the procurement was because of corruption. It is corruption. It is corruption-related, induced decision that was being done. Because if they procure them in bulk, then they can get their kickbacks. Because there was no sense in trying to take those things away from them. So when you have all these situations, then suddenly you hear that between July and October, you have situation where house helps were stealing monies. Look, Salom, I'm telling you, if somebody takes your 50 Ghana cedis now, you will know. I'm telling you, because you know the amount you have left in your pocket. So if you can't find 50 Ghana cedis, you will know. But to a situation where between between July and October, they were able to take up to about $1 million plus, and you didn't even know about it. Tells you the amount of money that, and of course it was confirmed when later on the OSP himself went there to go and see what was going to happen. So that is a disaster for the country, and of course for the government in that sense. The understanding I'm getting is that the OSP has a feeling that, look, he is not being treated fairly by the trial judge on the issues. Welcome to the party. These are some of the challenges that other persons have had cause to raise. Situations where you go and you will see, and people who have gone to court will tell you that they just see open bias, and sometimes it gives you a sense of, look, the judiciary, to a very large extent, should be more developed than particularly the other arms of government, because you see,
whether it is a military regime, whether it's a constitutional regime, the judiciary is always there. And so on the basis of that, they would, over a period of time, be able to know how to handle themselves and execute their duties as much as possible. Unfortunately, that is not being done. And of course, the OSP is currently, in his judgment, thinks that he is now a victim of that particular behavior from the judiciary. And I think the judiciary must take a second look at it. Of course, but I'm told that the Chief Justice will definitely make a pronouncement on it as to whether that is going to be done or not. I do not really have a problem until Martin raised the issue of even if you have, when you go and freeze somebody's accounts or you seize his funds, obviously the person has to leave. So I did initially when I heard that the judge had breached the period for which they were going to hear the case, I saw it to be reasonable. I said, if you have seized my funds and you have frozen my accounts, and then you think that these figures, you should be able to quickly to allow me to also live a very decent life. So I didn't have a problem, but I really don't know that even in the law, they have indicated that there are provisions that you can go and say, look, on the basis of XYZ, such amounts of money should be made either to settle my debt, either to take care of my business because the business is collapsing, because there has not been a judgment on it. And because there's no judgment on it, do not let either myself or maybe my business or whatever suffer. So I don't know why the lawyers did not opt for that, but rather went in for then it then confirms what the judge, the OSP was saying that look, it's not also giving them enough time
to respond
to this situation. So that is an area that, but me, the part that is interesting is what the OSP indicated about the FBI and then they themselves collaborating in situations like this. Talking about the fact that there's some transactions and property that they want to see whether how lawful these transactions have been made and these properties, how lawful were they acquired. Do you recall the audio that came out about one of the presidential, aspirants in the MPP, when he openly said that not only are they looting, but they are taking these monies outside and investing them outside. The Cecilia Dapa's case confirms what this man was saying.
But we don't know what they'll find yet. It's just a move they've made.
No, you see,
we are not sure what they'll find.
You don't go just saying that you are just as why are they using US? Why didn't they say Burkina Faso?
Maybe they have suspicion.
No,
but we need to see the substance before we can make.
I am very convinced that they have reasonable grounds to say that they want to investigate the transactions and properties of the woman and her associates. So, in my very humble opinion, look, I'll tell you the truth. You see, and me, I'm being a prophet here. Mark my words. This case will not get anywhere. I don't know whether, Martin, you've heard this. Currently, they are contemplating, I don't know whether they have actually filed it or not, they are contemplating going to the Supreme Court to say that the OSP law violates the Constitution.
It's been filed.
It's been filed.
Yeah.
The OSP law, and Kenkrache, everybody knows who Kenkrache is. The OSP law violates the Article 88 of the Constitution, and therefore it should be declared as null and void. The moment the Supreme Court rules on this, it means that case Yamutu.
But the Supreme Court may rule against it.
Exactly.
Anyway, they rule against it, but I'm just telling you, look. If a Supreme Court, you have a Supreme Court.
I'm not a
lawyer. I'm not a lawyer.
But you make laws.
No, the point I'm trying to make. The point I'm just trying to make. No, it's not true.
I'll take a break. So I get it. I'll take a short break, return, and then we'll deal with that. We're also hearing that some civil society organizations visited the Speaker of Parliament to deal with some matters, the Bugrin Habu IGP matter. We'll see about that. Don't go away. You're welcome back to the big issue. We're just having a discussion on what's been happening this week, the corruption matters, etc. This week also, Ato Essien was jailed for 15 years. He entered some arrangement with the state. He failed to pay the 90 billion the state asked him to pay, so he has his freedom somewhat. He paid just 37 million. Out of the 40 million, he paid 30 million from the beginning. It was to pay the 60 million in 3 installments. In April, 20 billion, August, 20 billion, and December also 20 billion. April, he couldn't make it. August, he couldn't make it. He could only pay 7 million. And so in total, he's paid 37. The state went back to court to tell the court that the sentence you suspended, now you can deliver because the guy has failed. the judge, the respected Eric Chebafo, sentenced him to 15 years in jail. That is the situation. Another feather in the cap of government, if you like, for its fight against corruption. This was in respect of the banking sector cleanup. Bawa, just a quick one. Your view on the sentencing: deterrent enough, severe enough, or too much?
I think that it's deterrent enough. 15 years of your life is not a child's play.
Very well.
When we know that our our lifespan, maybe roughly, even the scripture says 70, 80 for those who are strong. So, 15 years. And apparently that was supposed to be the highest among the various counts.
No, I think it could be 25 years.
No, I'm just saying that, yes. I think they said 15.
So I think it was about 95 years because they were to run concurrently.
Okay. So, and because maybe he had already paid about 37 out of the total amount of money he was supposed to pay, maybe that's the basis for which the judge did. Nobody should always be excited when somebody is incarcerated. It is not a good feeling for the family, for whoever. But I think that, in my very humble opinion, and I had asked a lawyer, I think to the moment the case was done, I said, all transactions and other things will have to be approved by the board. They also have to report to the board. To what extent was the board implicit in this? Because they seem to be a bit silent. I know that, of course, there were 2 or 3 people who also went to court. They were sent to court, and then later on...
There were 3 extra people.
The people who were taken...
Yes, 2 of them acquitted and discharged. Yes. One, no case was really made against her.
Okay.
So there could be a number of people on the board. Okay. But if the investigation doesn't show that they are directly involved...
Yes, for me, that would be very surprising that you have a situation where, if or not matter, the board chairman was not aware of all this and that these monies were being stolen. Because he was charged for thievery, basically. That the board chairman did not know this. And so I would be interested in knowing what details, what was the level of investigation, to what extent were they freed, to what extent were they not involved in it. The fact that you just say that you are placing charges on one individual does not mean that somebody else is not culpable.
Very well.
I am not saying that
somebody is culpable.
But it's interesting to say you have a founder who rather is, then you don't have... We all heard that some of these board meetings were being done in the board chairman's house.
Well,
we heard all these things.
That's fine. I'm running out of time. So,
it's for them to...
So Dennis,
I wanted to find out from Honorable Bawa how he would know if I'm stealing his money from his car. Because I'm stealing.
All right.
So it's possible. It's possible that somebody could be stealing.
So what do you think?
And I'm living in branches.
Government is secured.
I honestly, when I read the story yesterday, I felt very sad. I felt sad for him, not because he hasn't committed a crime, but because I thought he is a very vibrant young entrepreneur that could have done things in a way much more better than he's been accused of doing. If you look at how he sprang up and all the things he was doing, I really think that we should have seen more of him. It's a complete life wasted, to be very honest with you. The manner in which sometimes you read some of the stories and how he's been accused of carrying himself. At some point, they may not be true, but I used to read that some of the money governments give the bank to recover, he picked them, took some to Zimbabwe to go and engage in some...
So I think all of that came together, and then he has this
sentence now. Yeah, so I feel that, I'm sure when he's in his cell now, he will be regretting a lot of things and would have wished he had done them differently. I also think that this, of course, becomes a landmark issue that others would really learn from, because a lot of people have suffered as a result of this banking sector cleanup, which is as a result of some actions and inactions of some of these banking executives.
Franklin, so that's it. Martin, you think it was harsh or not? Just in 1 minute, quite unfair.
Oh no, I can't say it's harsh, but rather a bit. The main point is this: the property that he was hoping to sell. To be honest, I need to readjust my thoughts, because all along when I was coming, what I'd read was that, the property he has in Pram Pram is $10 million. So my whole point was that, let's go for the money. Then he leaves jail because we need the money more than we say. But I was on a program with Deputy Attorney General, and he says the property rather is 1-point-something million instead of 10.
So that's so small.
And so it's just taking me aback. The sentence cannot be said to be harsh. So, but Deputy Attorney General Chia Ebua said that property he was talking about is rather 1-point-something million. You know something? Me, that notwithstanding, let's go into that particular case to see. Maybe we can get something. Look, even if we get $100,000,
it's good money.
Yes. So let's go. So I'm begging AG, they should go into that case because the Deputy AG said, no, they hadn't gone into it. So if they haven't, let's call upon them to go into that case. There's a civil case. They say that property is a subject matter. Let's go into it and see what we can get. That's very important.
Very well. Franklin, your view on this, but I'll take you away from that. I hear you guys went to, civil society organizations visited the Speaker of Parliament. So this is on a different matter. Because you guys say you're unhappy with the way the IGP leak tape matter was being probed. Why will you visit the Speaker of Parliament on a matter like this when you could make representation to the committee and then state your point?
Well, first of all, let me just also say that it is sad to see Ato Essien jailed. I think the lesson for everybody, political or outside of politics, is that we should be careful whenever we are entrusted with some duty of care, especially when money is involved. Having said this, I'm not entirely sure this will end anytime soon, because you remember when people were arguing for capital punishment to end, the very persons who were being hanged in medieval times for pickpocketing had come to watch pickpocketers being hanged. They were actually pickpocketing as well. So I hope that this matters would guide us all. Well, we just didn't go to see the Speaker on the police matter. I think we went to see the Speaker to have broad discussions on the governance issues within the sub-region and indeed basically the economic lives of people around the world, and especially Ghana, which have been decimated by mostly government actions, but also Russia, Ukraine, and a bit more of this so-called, well, not so-called, but COVID, right? So we were discussing many things in general. But of course, we were worried as well that the police administration is being colonized and is being mocked. And indeed, we thought that it was setting the stage for a demoralized police force that may not be able to probably prosecute the major issues in the country, especially the election that is coming in next December, right? And we thought that we wanted to find out from the Speaker what his original terms of reference was for the committee, because we realized that the committee chairman seems to be setting his own questions and answering them. And the Speaker was categorical that, well, look, I gave the chairman of the committee specific terms of reference. Now the authenticity of the tape, basically those comments that were made and the persons who made them. To the extent that those have been largely adduced, well, we thought the matter must end. So we were very alarmed that if we did not take care and the way the committee chairman is actually handling the issue. Remember, be minded, I'm not mentioning the committee, because the committee chairman is the one directing affairs, and even ranking members have had cause to even walk away at some point in time, right? So we were worried that the way things were going, he's actually not respecting his own terms of reference and is going beyond, and is putting the police hierarchy in a very bad light. We are not saying that if there are issues involving Mr. Dampare or the ITP, they should not be investigated. But as far as the remit of his committee goes, is way out of line. And I think that we were minded and we were worried that these matters must be brought to his attention. In a society, we need some strong men as well. We cannot have another Demeleville being removed. We cannot have Martinamidu, the situation where he complained about being, being harassed in order to not to do his work properly. We need people who can also man institutions that can outlive them and basically leave some legacy for everybody to follow. We are not saying Dampare is a saint, but certainly we are saying that the committee chairman must be brought to book. And I'm happy that as we speak, the cross-examination which he was entertaining has been stopped. We've achieved our aim. Thank you.
All right. So that's how we conclude today's edition of the program. Thanks so much. As always, a lot to discuss, and thanks so much for my guest, Edward Bauer, MP Bongo. I'm sorry, MP Bongo. Franklin Kudio, President Imani Africa, you just heard him. Dennis Abuaji Miracles, presidential staffer. I'm careful to say that about presidential staffer. And Martin People, private legal practitioner.
What is even that?
Thank you very much. But Martin, people are just concerned. I mean, we saw a picture of you and Cecilia Dapa. What was she telling you? 2 seconds.
Oh, just admonishing me to be objective. It's fine. It's not antagonistic.
Okay, very well.
It's okay. It's okay. I don't have a problem.
Okay,
yeah.
Very well.
No,
thank you so much.
Continue.
Yeah, you said she continue being objective. You said she continue being objective. Great. All right, thanks so much. Have a good afternoon. My name is Selom Adonu. Have a good afternoon. Catch you soon time next.